It is April 2nd, 6:30. I am calling the Planning Commission meeting to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 on the agenda is the role of the Planning Commission. I'm just going to read this since we got some new faces in the audience. The Planning Commission consists of 5 residents appointed by the City Council. The Commission administers the comprehensive plan, zoning, and subdivision regulations. The Commission conducts public hearings and provides recommendations to the City Council. It is the City Council who may approve or deny land use applications. Item number 4 is the approval of the agenda. Assuming there's no changes,
No changes.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Chair Demuth currently absent. Do we need to do roll call?
We're okay.
Perfect.
I'll just make a note once Peter comes in, we'll announce that he's arrived.
All right. Item number 5 is the consent agenda. These are routine and previously discussed items that are enacted with one motion. The only item on the consent agenda is the Planning Commission minutes from March 5th.
Move to approve the March 5th Planning Commission minutes.
Second.
You got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next item is item number 6, open forum. These are public comments that are limited to 3 minutes for non-agenda items. State your name, address, and no action is going to be taken by the commission. The items will be referred to the staff. Is anyone here for open forum? Anyone online?
If anyone who's attending would like to speak in, oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. If anyone attending online would like to speak in open forum, please raise your hand.
All right, I'm assuming then that,
Just let me repeat this because if anyone attending online would like to speak, if you could raise your hand, please. There you go. We have operator error, but I'm not sure what my error is yet. So we can continue.
all right. Then item 7A and B is the council update from March 10th and March 24th. The mayor is not present. John, do we want to do it, or do we just want to delay it and save it for the next meeting?
I would say delay it, so I don't have the agendas in front of me.
Okay.
For what all we did.
All right, then we are moving on to item 8A, public hearing for the concept plan of Oppidan.
And I'll just note for the minutes, Peter Demuth has arrived.
Exactly 3 minutes late.
Not bad.
You almost made it.
Okay. So Oppidan, this is a concept plan. As a concept plan, the intention is that individual, or I'm going to say it's a high-level plan. It doesn't have the same level of detail as you would expect with a formal preliminary plat or site plan. There's no formal approval or denial, no formal action. The intention is that individual commissioners will give their opinion if you are supportive of the project or what you would like to change to make the project better. This applicant is Oppidan. They're proposing a 172,000 square foot speculative warehouse industrial building. This is located off of 121st Avenue, immediately east of Dayton Park or the mobile home park. So the property is vacant. It is wooded and has been wooded for many, many years. This project will require 4 different applications. The first one will be a comprehensive plan amendment, and I'll go in a little bit more detail about each of these. So First item is a comprehensive plan amendment. The second is a zoning map amendment, the preliminary and final plat, and then finally a site plan review. For the comprehensive plan amendment, the future land use map guides this property as a mobile home park. With a mobile home park, that obviously it's intended to be for mobile homes, not for industrial. So it would be, this map would be amended from mobile homes into industrial. This property was previously guided as industrial. Was previously guided as industrial and then amended in 2021, I believe, to mobile homes. So in 2021, there's a proposed project or planned project to expand the mobile home park. That project did not go through, and so now the property owner has listed it for sale and is looking for, whether it's a use for an industrial or for a mobile home park. The market is stronger for industrial, so that is why we have this project tonight. Similarly to the comp plan, the zoning map amendment, or the zoning map would need to be amended from a mobile home park to industrial. And then you get more into the details for the preliminary plat and site plan review. So currently this is platted as an outlot. Outlots are not buildable by themselves. The intention is that it be platted into a lot and block. With the site plan review, this is required for larger or most commercial industrial projects, and that gets into the more detailed of, is there enough parking, is there enough landscaping, and what does the building look like? Let's see. And this is an overall plan of the building, so that's so again, the entrance would be off of 121st. The building, this I believe is the second rendition of the building. So originally it was more of a north-south orientation. There's a drawing that's included in the packet. The building has shifted in order to avoid impacts to wetlands and to the south ditch. So within this property, it's a little hard to see on the screen, but everything that you see in yellow is a wetland. And then there are two ditches that go across the property. There's a north ditch and the south ditch. So the north ditch, and I believe the applicant has someone that's much more knowledgeable than I am on the wetlands and streams. But again, the intention is to avoid impact to that south ditch as well as the southwest wetland.
When you say everything in yellow, you're talking everything with the yellow border? The yellow line.
Shapes, yeah.
Yep, just for clarity.
Yep. So again, with this drawing, it's a little hard to read, but you've got a building with, we'll say passenger vehicles that are on the northeast corner of the property, and then semi-truck docks and trailer parking on the southwest. So and we have the applicant and their team that are here, and otherwise I can try to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Any questions for staff?
I have just a general question for you. Being that the city's getting pretty close to the comprehensive plan update for 2050, I know the Met Council has some considerations as far as when cutoffs can be for amendments. I'm not aware of those, or when I'd have to refresh my memory as to when that is, but are we running up, or is the applicant here running up on the Met Council not accepting comp plan amendments because of the fact that we're so close to the whole overall comp plan update?
I'm going off of memory, might not be correct. I believe it's October of this year.
So perhaps it's probably a good idea to let the applicant know what that date is for sure, for timing issues, if they want to get an amendment into the city before that deadline, before they'll accept anymore.
Yeah, and I'll have to confirm it, so I believe it's after October, any comp plan amendment would have to adhere to the new Met Council standards, which it gets more into density, probably not as impacted with industrial. And then I think it's the end of this year, then it's kind of a hard stop and wait until the new comp plan is adopted.
The only other question I would have too is that it sounds like from the staff report that you've had some communication from the watershed district about encroaching into the wetlands. Could you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure,
Information.
and I'm going to ask the applicant, correct me if I don't remember this. So we had kind of a online meeting with the developer and city staff and the watershed district staff, and for the TEP panel, or the technical evaluation panel. One of the comments is, the idea of wetlands is first to avoid impact to the wetlands and then to minimize what that impact is. And so this is a difficult project or property, so as you can see, there are several wetlands in there. Some of them are, I'm not sure what I'm going to call them insignificant. I think there's a different name for that, though. But, they're able to be filled in. There's other wetlands that should just be left alone. And so the watersheds districts kind of question is, can the building be smaller? Does it have to be there? Does the parking lot need to be as big as it is? And, from a developer's standpoint, you want as big of a project as you can, and then you start whittling down to what fits.
And then piggybacking on that, does Dayton have specific wetland mitigation requirements?
Not different than the state or from the
Okay.
watershed.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
Any other questions for staff? Would the applicant like to come forward? Name and address.
Ryan Durand, Oppidan. 400 Water Street, Excelsior, Minnesota.
Jay Moore, Oppidan, 400 Water Street, Excelsior, Minnesota.
Chair DeMuth and members of the Planning Commission, we appreciate tonight's discussion and the opportunity to present this project to you all. As I said, I'm Ryan Durand with Oppidan and joined here by Jay Moore. With us today, we are joined by Melissa Barrett from Chelog Environmental Services, a wetland specialist who conducted a wetland delineation for our project and has worked on other industrial projects in the area. We also have Andrew Glover from Marco Murray, who has provided civil engineering and architectural design services for the project. Additionally, John Rausch from Cushman Wakefield is present as a representative of the land seller. Collectively, we welcome any questions from the Planning Commission.
Any questions? Thoughts to start?
I'm generally supportive of the industrial use change. I don't have when I first looked at the plan, I was kind of hoping maybe the building could be flipped a little bit from a trailer standpoint, meaning that not against the residential use. But I also looking at the MTL site and what happens, and it's really not much more invasive than what's going on right next door to MTL, so I'm kind of impartial on that fact. Other than that, I like the design. I like how it's got the customer parking on one side of the building, the trailer parking on the other. So that's my general feedback.
One thing this plan doesn't do a great job is that there will be fencing on the western portion of the site to kind of block and limit the impact of that trailer on the south side of the site as well.
Yeah, I guess maybe to Darren's point, we saw a rendering in our packets. And I think, I don't know, John, did you have it on your slides of December's? But just walk us through what you looked at on the site and why this makes some of the most sense.
Sure. I don't know if you have it up in the agenda, but to John's point, the original plan was a north-south kind of layout. It was a bigger square footage as well, and it had office parking directly abutting the trailer park to the west. After feedback from the watershed, we decided to try and mitigate, try to limit the impacts to the wetlands as much as possible. So you'll see now to the south of the site, there's a man-made ditch / stream running in Wetland 2 and Wetland 1. We shifted the site and moved it to the northeast to limit impacts to that area. Additionally, we heard feedback that West French Lake Road, if you look at the industrial projects on that roadway, they all have office parking facing that. So to the best of our ability, we're trying to maximize the street appeal of the project to West French Lake Road and the amenity of the lake right there to any potential tenants. And again, shifting the trailer parking in the back, trying to use as much of the existing trees and wetlands as possible to limit the noise impact to the residents, as well as building a fence, again, on that west line that will hopefully cut down additionally on noise.
Would any of the existing old growth trees in the southwest corner be able to be saved? Or
Yes.
do you have to clear those in order to do the proper storm water management?
Nope.
Grading.
All the stormwater management areas, as demonstrated on the map, are to the north of the site, kind of on your entrance off of 121st Avenue North. And then on the east of the site, in that other area, really anything south of that trailer parking stalls will not be touched. So we're trying to save as many of the trees there as possible. Melissa's familiar with the site. Sounds like there's some old growth trees. So to the best of our ability, we're going to limit, the impact to those.
If I could just add a comment, as John mentioned, we did have a kind of an informal meeting in January with Jason Quisberg as well. And our stormwater ponds, if needed, we would be willing to work with the city if there's kind of a partnership that the city needs some extra water. If we have room for it, we would try to accommodate and work with the city, because I know there's some potential runoff that comes from that mobile home park that we would try to capture it and just treat the water for better quality. So we're open to working with the city on kind of a partnership there to help the overall quality of the water.
Yes, that's a good point. And I didn't have this in the staff because I'm not 100% knowledgeable about it. So independent of this project, the city is doing a stormwater plan, I guess, to treat the stormwater that's coming off of the mobile home. We're treating it before it goes into French Lake, and we're looking at having probably more of a regional pond it's a wetland now. It was a constructed pond at one point and would potentially tie into this project or be expanded into this project.
So I guess one other item that I would like to mention, and John, I don't know if you can pull up, you drew a red rectangle in your staff report about the possibility of moving our building back. We want to bring Melissa up here to talk about what those yellow lines are in the front of the building. If Melissa, it'd probably be a great time for you to come up and talk about that.
Hi, Melissa Barrett with Kellogg Environmental. Yeah, if I could have that figure back up there. Sorry, if I could have the figure back up there, please.
He's getting to the one with the red.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Well, not that one. The one with the red shift is, I think, what.
okay. That one?
Yeah.
Sure. So we did have that we call it a pre-application TEP meeting with all of the watershed district and other technical evaluation panel members. And what we did hone in on is that we wanted to try to avoid the more natural wetlands on the site, the more remnant wetlands on the site. This is a highly disturbed site, and as the south part of the site is less disturbed, and as we move north, it became more disturbed because, as you probably know, we had that large area to the north of the site, which was, when I worked on it, was for Alrose Steel. It might have turned into a different industrial development, but that was like the most disturbed with the MPCA ponds and things like that. So wetland 2 in the southwest corner of the site is basically a remnant wetland. It's in its natural condition, and it's surrounded by old growth trees, as is the drainage feature in the southeast part of the site, the D12, D13, D14. That's basically a natural tributary that'd be regulated by the Corps of Engineers as a stream feature, and we definitely cannot go near that for permitting purposes. So this plan avoids those natural features that are still on the site that are pretty remnant and have been there historically. The wetland 3 in the middle of the site, I call that my goldfish wetland because it's kind of shaped like a goldfish. That one is a large wetland, but it's turning out that probably half of that wetland is incidental, meaning that it was created not intentionally to create wetland, just with previous disturbance on the site. And probably half of wetland 3 is not regulated under the state rules, and it's also not regulated under the Corps of Engineers rules. And then we have in the middle of the site, kind of near the 2 northern stormwater ponds, we have that wetland 4. That actually is like an excavated wetland. Prior to the mobile home park even being there, this was kind of like a wet swale feature that probably flowed through the site, and I'm talking like 1940s here. So that little wetland is actually an excavated basin, and then all of those ditches up to the north, they're a different color, you can't really see it on here, because those are man-made ditches. And what I found is that most of those ditches were actually kind of passing the water through that MPCA kind of testing situation they had going on to the north. That was to basically route that water through, and none of that water comes through the site anymore now that it's been developed to the north and also to the east. So those remnant trenches are still there, but they're actually not flowing with water anymore. And so this wetland that spans the northeast property line, there's the green line on the other property, and then we have the yellow line. And you can see it's like really kind of jagged and odd shaped because it's really not a natural boundary. And if this project moves forward, we will be going to the TEP with information to support incidental determination for that bigger knob up near the pond. Yep. Not quite sure about those two little fingers jutting out. We'd have to the southeast. Those are possibly kind of like remnant flowage areas, obviously very disturbed from what they would have been historically. But if you go on like the Hennepin County Properties page, you can flip through historic photos, and you'll see that blob up by the northern pond, I mean, there used to be a road through there used to be a gravel pad on there. It's pretty obvious when you flip through the historic areas that area was being used previously as upland. So that would be our intention. And so this plan, in my mind, would satisfy the TEP in that we listen to their concerns about avoiding the quality wetlands. Not that they like to see wetland impacts, but the ones we are going to impact, they're disturbed or partially, maybe fully incidental and not actually regulated.
So the wetland, the watershed district has not seen this specific plan?
We have not shared this one. No, we
Okay.
shared the other one with the building north-south facing, which they weren't that happy about, and they wanted to see the stream features and that wetland too specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
So you feel that this is going to be more favorable in the watershed district's determination? Okay.
Yeah.
Currently, the water from the mobile home court flows through that property. At least half of that mobile home court flows that direction. It's
Right.
downhill.
That D10 on the
Can you go
very,
back to that other one, John?
that southeast corner of the site.
That one.
Yeah, that D10, I followed that west, and there's a little, it's like this big. It spits out of the ground, and that forms D10. And it starts at the southeast corner. There's a little culvert right there, and it spits out, and I have photos of it. So that's how D10 starts, out of a little culvert underneath the pavement. I have no idea where the water, but there's water coming out of there. And then also up D4 at that northwest pond, we also had a culvert there. So there's actually some underground direct discharge happening, plus there's probably surface flow, right? Yeah.
Well, I grew up in this area, so I know it like the back of my hand,
Yeah.
right? There are two areas on this property where water came from the trailer court. One is the lower green one that
Yeah.
you're talking about, right there.
Yeah.
And the other one is farther up.
Yeah, there's actually a
Right.
ditch.
Right where those two structures are in the trailer court, that's where
Yep.
60% of the water that was collected on the streets in the trailer court ran through and into that property, and it went across that property. And that little area that you're talking about was dredged out. That property was dredged out by the people that owned the trailer court. It actually was a swimming hole, a man-made swimming hole. And
Okay.
it was closed in 1961. So that's how long that's been there. But that water ran through that swimming hole and then on across into the ravine on
Yep.
the adjacent property on the west, or on the east side, excuse me.
Yep.
So, John, maybe it's a question for you. Is the water from the trailer court still running the same way? We don't have any storm sewers in that property, right, from the trailer court?
I'm not knowledgeable about it.
I've never seen any there. That's good.
I couldn't-
I don't think there are.
Yeah.
So all the runoff water from the whole mobile home court runs through that property.
Oh, sir, there is storm sewers there. I used to work maintenance in the park. And there's a storm sewers there. We go past where they built the playground, you'll see there's a manhole there where everything drains to and drains out.
Where's the playground at?
Right, it's one of those two
This is the
structures right there.
You'll see there's a manhole
That's-
there where all the storm water runs up, runs into, runs out.
Do you know where it goes? Does it go underground?
Yes. I'm not sure how far it
So-
goes off.
Yeah, once-
We'll call the public up in a little bit to talk to, but it's very helpful to have some knowledge and background on that. I guess, any other questions for the applicant or
Yeah.
comments at this point?
So I guess I think your question was the
The
shift,
shift.
the shift, and in my mind, that, that shift would be to avoid that northern knob, and if you scroll through the Hennepin County aerials, you'll see that that is likely incidental, and that's what we would be applying for, that impact, and if it's incidental, it doesn't require mitigation, it's not a regulated impact.
So the red box shift seems more than the magenta shift of the parking on the
Yeah.
southwest,
Yes.
so you're squeezing the trailer and the truck movement parking a little bit on the northwest?
Yes, I mean,
Southwest.
we think that because those wetlands are incidental, there should be no reason to push that building back off of the setback, so we can maximize the size of our building and have the truck court, as shown as designed, flow and function properly. By pushing that building back, it completely wrecks the back row of trailer parking. So it's a major financial impact, and we don't think it's quite necessary from what we've moved that building and listened to the TEP. We've tried to avoid every single wetland possible, and we think this is positioned the best for this building to be successful and have the parking lot, vehicle parking, kind of the front door, look to the northeast and look over the lake and have that as an amenity.
How much smaller is that shifted building, or would that shifted building have to be?
We didn't even look at it because we don't support it. I mean, it greatly impacts this, and we don't think there's a need for it. So we really, at this point, don't feel the need to redesign it at this point. We want to come and ask for what was presented originally, and that's the plan that we think we can get done and accomplish a real nice building and bring tenants into the city of Dayton.
And I guess I'd also say that there's remnant trees in the southwest, and there's also, if you look at the historic aerials, you'll see that the stream feature that we have in the southeast, those trees have been there for a long time too. So in my mind, as a ecologist, right, I like to stay away from the stream features, and then there's slopes that they have the historic trees on. So I like to see the building further away from that thing. So.
And there's quite a big tree ordinance as well in the city, and so what we're trying to do is leave all those trees at the bottom of this plan and those original wetlands and keep those buffers in place. So moving it back would only cause more trees to be excavated or torn down and chopped down, and we don't want to do that. So we like the original plan, and that's what we're here to ask for support on.
I have some concerns on the layout of the building and the way that you have it sitting. I understand that looking out at the front of the window would be nice to look at the lake, but in doing so, you're putting all of the traffic, the truck traffic, adjacent to residential development.
We did talk about putting, 8 to 10 foot high fence. We can listen to any recommendations that are put forth. We also plan on putting a lot of evergreens and keeping the trees that are on those borders in place. And I'd also look at the bottom of the plan. I see lots of trailers and a building that abuts up already to that mobile home park. So I think some of that precedent has already been put in place.
How many bays does the building have that face the mobile home court, approximately?
Approximately 12 to 14.
12 to 14, thank you.
My first question for the commission is, what is the highest and best
Well-
use?
Yeah, let's get to those after we do the public hearing,
Okay,
because right now, my mind's in a feedback mode.
Sure. Okay.
Clarifying questions from, I think where I want to go is clarify questions that we have for the applicant. Then we'll go to a public hearing, maybe call the applicant back up to have some more discussion about what we can and can't do. And then, to your point, John, go through what you need from us.
Yep.
So, any other clarifying questions? I think the one I had, and John, maybe you can help with this one, or the applicant, but storage of these trailers are not, they're not storage facilities that are parked there for,
It's outside storage. So
Yeah.
generally speaking, you know, I don't know how many stalls there are, but it extends the length of the building.
yep,
It's fairly common in an industrial.
It's below the
building.
threshold for outdoor storage, though.
43.
Whether our code is right.
43 trailer parking stalls is.
We should look into that to make
Yeah.
sure we're
Yeah.
following the code.
And that's where I was going with that one.
Because I believe the limits, I forget what it is.
I want to say it's like 30% or so.
Yeah, it's a healthy amount of trailers that can be there.
You know, say this is significantly less than the neighboring MTL.
Yes.
And this is a speculative building, so we don't know if it's gonna be actually used with trailers or if it's gonna be used for, you see the indoor slide parks at some of these places, right?
Correct.
So,
But to give us, you know, our best shot at landing a user pool, this is a strong amenity, if the tenant desires that. Like you look at Invent just to the north, and that doesn't occur there because of the use. So it's just, when you go into a project like this and you put all the risk in the investment, you know, you're hoping to give yourself the best chance of success. That's what this plan reflects.
any other questions for clarification from the applicant?
No.
All right, at this time, I am going to open the public hearing at 7:02. Like I said, I'll call you guys back up afterwards. If there's anyone who would like to come up and discuss a little bit, yeah, come on up. We'll do name and address. We'll give you about 3 minutes, give or take, and then this is just a rule for most everyone. If we hear a lot of repeated stuff, just kind of ask you to move along. But
my name is Lowell Norbaum. I live at 701 York Avenue in the Dayton Trailer Park. That is right where the ponds are going to be butted up against. My concern is already with the two large businesses you've got going there, the noise pollution. It is 24/7 banging and trucks, and it's almost unbearable. I mean, the noise that we already get in there with the small amount of bays and the traffic coming up 121. We have trucks parked out there for hours during the day. We got them parked out there idling at night. I mean, the last 2 summers, we haven't been able to open our doors and windows just because of all the dust and the nasty debris. I mean, the quality of our life has really been impacted over all this. And bringing another project like this for another couple more years of that, I mean, that's pretty inconsiderate of a residential. We had issues with the other construction companies starting at 5:30 in the morning and running until dark. And that isn't fair to a residential.
If I could just say, noise, was that only during the construction period, or is that current?
No, it's still continuing. It's
okay.
24/7. You're hearing forklifts banging into trucks, tractor trailers backing into, I mean, it's 24/7. I mean, it's constant. And I had a gal that was with the city, I think her name was Fang, and she came out and said they were going to put up all these sawn barriers and do all this and that. Nothing ever came of that. I mean, so we're already hearing a ton of noises, and you're going to bring this in. It's not right to the residents, especially having all them loading docks in the back and take out the wetlands. And I mean, ever since all that development, the wildlife has been impacted out there. We used to see tons of pheasants and deer. I haven't seen a pheasant out there in 4 years. I mean, So it's impacting more than just, so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
My name's John Waldron. I live at 209 York in the Dayton Mobile Home Park. Actually, on the map, you can see my home in the lower southwest corner on that first one coming up. So I'm right there in that corner where the so-called privacy fence sound barrier that MLT has up, it's a joke. I hear everything. And the construction that was going on that entire time, it was a complete disruption. Used to have wildlife in that area. We still do, but not like what we had. I mean, we had turkeys in the backyard, possums. They're all displaced with all of this, and the deer and the animals. I take my dog out to those woods, for her walks, my walks, and she's kicking up, birds and tree and turkeys and stuff, But the sound itself, even north of 121st, at 11 o'clock at night, we can hear trailers banging into the back of the dock doors, and then to have this right here on the property line, right at our back door, literally, it's just going to be more of a nuisance to us residents that are still there. I mean, because it's still a residential area. Whatever the plans may be in the future, we're still a residential area. And we should be able to enjoy our privacy and our homes that we own. We literally own our homes there. And we should be able to enjoy that privacy. When we moved there, we didn't plan on living in an industrial park. We were there and we enjoyed the privacy and the seclusion away from the metro and the woods and the wilderness. And that's all being, slowly taken away from us. And that's the last little piece that we have left. That was part of 5005 property that owned Dayton Mobile Home Park, before they sold it in 2019 or right around then before the COVID. So those woods there, the park, and that whole area up front where Quick Trip is, all that was the Dayton Mobile Home Park. And you guys, it's slowly being taken away from us. And something like this, no. And the water, the water, the runoff in that lower corner there, where that culvert is, the new owners finally put in and updated the culvert there. But as Tom had mentioned, that's, I believe Tom mentioned, but that's all runoff. So all of our water, when it rains or the snow when it melts, it runs off and it comes out and it drains into that property. It was all designed to drain there. So that's all part of our drainage, that it's going to affect us in so many ways. And again, the privacy. The sound barrier, they're talking about putting up a privacy fence, a 10-foot. That's the exact same thing that's behind my house. It's literally 15, 20 feet from my bedroom window. And I had to move my bedroom from the back up towards the middle. I had to change my bedroom so I wouldn't get as much of the noise of the trucks running out of MLT. And now they're going to do the same thing over here. It's just going to be I mean, I don't know what else I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
James Newman, I live on 409 York, right, a couple of houses down from the playground, basically right where their corner of their driveway, where they want to put the trailers, is going to be basically like 3 feet from my shed. And my wife has an illness called mast cell activation, and she's basically triggered by noise, vibrations, and with all the construction that's been going on, it's been hell for her for the last couple of years. And now I get it. I've been out in the park since 1991. My parents bought this lot in '93, and I took it over in 2005. And we picked that lot because of the woods, because of the animals that were available. And I understand development's gonna happen, but you've really put us into a commercial zone. I mean, everything around us is now commercial. And if they have trucks running at night, it's gonna shake my whole house. And I just had the house re-insulated. So I am committed to staying in this park as long as the park is open. Because I can't afford to move. My house is paid for, and all I have to do is pay the lot rent. And putting something like that right out my bedroom window is kind of unfair. I was gonna come in and I see what they're doing, and I was gonna suggest, hey, let's flip the building and put the trailers on the opposite side. Because semi-trucks, when they idle, especially in the winter, are gonna shake the property. It's just a given. I've been around them my whole life working. So, and I understand you got the wetlands, and I understand everybody wants to look at the lake. I mean, I wanna look at the woods. So, I mean, that's my take on this whole thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Probably the last one.
Pamela, if you could wait till you come to the microphone.
You could feel
Sorry.
free to sit down too if you want to. You don't have to stand up too.
And only because I'm just going to reiterate that I agree with what they're saying. I'm at 405 York, which is just down from that, the triangle and the one that comes across. He lives right across from where that is, and I'm down 3 trailers. So I'm going to be right at that corner. And I don't like the fact that they're taking the woods out. There's a lot of wildlife back there. You're going to be displacing, I mean, you're all talking about wetlands. Well, there's a lot of wildlife that doesn't, it depends on the wetland, but they also live back there. Woodchucks, possums. I mean, since I put in that stuff up on the MLT, all the possums have come down to us, you know. We have other issues going on, but I just wanted to reiterate that I am, you know, on board with what they're saying. We need to nix it or rethink it.
I'm sorry, Pamela, could you spell your last name, please?
ASH.
Ash, there we go. Oh, pretty simple. Thank you.
Hey, guys. Tom Olson on 11 Gatewood Drive. My backyard is 121st Avenue. We moved out here 26 years ago. We had the field behind our house, then we got 121st Avenue. Now, if this place goes in, where's the trucks tonight? They're going down 121st? Well, then, for us to get out of the park right now, it's suicide. If we want to take a left, go on Brockton. We got to fight the FedEx trucks, or we'd be fighting more semis. I mean, right now, the traffic on Brockton is already bad. Now this is going to make it worse. I mean, the Quick Trip coming in there, all the FedEx trucks going into Quick Trip is a nightmare. So where all these traffic going to go? That's our main concern. And our backyard is the 121st Avenue. We're going to have semis running up there all night. Our bedroom is in that area. It's like we hear trucks all night now going back and forth. I mean, when we first moved out here, we had the elk farm out there. I could run my dogs back there. I hunted back there. Now all that's gone. So it's just getting harder and harder for us to live out there. And we can't afford to move, so that's just my opinion. Thanks, guys.
Tom, did you had a couple comments on the stormwater?
Yeah, there is storm sewers at the park.
Yep.
Where Mobile Hope used to be, there's a storm sewer there. One on Burns in York, there's a storm sewer there. I think it all ties in when we went with the Maple Grove City and Water, all that should tie in parts there. But by Gaywood, where John was talking about the playground, that will run out towards the woods.
Okay.
But there is stormwater sewers there. Okay?
Thank you.
If you want, I can get plans for that too, so.
it might be good for the city to have those.
The city should have them plans.
I'm sure we do, I'm
Yeah.
just not knowledgeable on
Yeah.
stormwater.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We do have one person online.
Were you coming up for the public hearing? Yeah, come on up.
Person online, if you'd like.
We'll do in person first.
All right. My name is John Roush, and I live at 5229 Minnetonka Terrace in Minnetonka. And we currently own that land, the 7.93 acres, which is adjacent to this parcel. And I actually did own this land at one point in time, which we ended up selling to Mr. Fitterer, who owns it now, when we did some land exchanges for the Quick Trip.
Mr. Fitter, just to clarify, that's the owner of the mobile home park?
Mr. Fitterer, not the mobile home park. He owns the subject property that we're talking about now.
Got it.
He sold the mobile home park a little while ago. I've been a commercial real estate sales guy for 25 years, just selling land. And what I'd like to do is differentiate a little bit between what MTL did and what we're proposing here. This will not be a transfer station. There will not be that many trucks. They can't afford to pay the rent for this building. We envision this building being a lot more similar to the nVent property, the corporate headquarters, the one user, which is to the north. We're not set up to be a cross-dock truck terminal, transferring things and running trucks 24 hours. This is set up, and we don't have anybody. It's a speculative building. But our intention is to bring a corporate user like nVent to the city. That building to the north, the nVent building, that leased because of the views to the lake. They toured the entire metro, and when they came up there and saw French Lake when this thing was under construction, that's what sold it to them, rather than some of the buildings in Rogers and Corcoran and other places, which is also partly why we want to have the building facing that way, towards the lake. Secondly, just having those trailer drops in the back, that's not truck parking, that's trailer drops. And what that does is ideally is going to keep this building full, keep the tax base up. A lot of the buildings in Rogers don't have that, and those are the buildings that struggle. You'll see some of the neighboring buildings in Corcoran and Maple Grove that just have a little bit of this trailer drop parking. Those are the ones that are staying leased. So again, this is not intended to be a 24-hour thing where you got, tractors parked back there doing garbage transfer or anything like that. Much, much cleaner. And of course, this is private property. We've been trying to sell this for a while. We've offered it to the city and to the park district, and anybody in the world could buy it, preserve the trees or not. There is a tree ordinance that we're prepared to follow in the city of Dayton, and I think, because when I owned it, I walked out there with permission, of course, but there is a really nice row of trees that are going to be saved, as you can see, south of the building and south of the red line, more so than we see in other developments. So that was quite conscious. And I empathize with the folks that live right there, and maybe there's some things we can do to soften, the developers could do to soften that up with maybe some trees that, some green spruce or something that actually absorb a little bit more of the sound, throughout the year rather than just during the summer. Thank you for your time. Anything?
Will Cushman Wakefield continue to own the building after construction?
Cushman Wakefield is we're just a sales group. We're just a brokerage firm.
Okay.
So Oppidan would build it, and then and then fill it up, and then from there, we don't know what they would do. If they'd sell it to an institution or hold it or whatever, which is quite common.
I have a question, John,
Yeah.
before you leave.
Yes, sir.
The truck traffic in the back, obviously that's a concern for me and for the neighbors that are here speaking tonight. When a truck has to come in there to drop them, right?
Yep.
What is the reason for the trucks pulling the trailers in there and dropping them? Are they dropping material off or product off to the business, or?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of times what happens, and this is a speculative building, we do work with Amazon, for instance. Amazon, they bring their trucks in, they'll drop them off. This is not an Amazon facility, I don't mean to say that, but, and I am not a logistics expert, but you take your trailer, the 52-footer, you're gonna back it up, you're gonna unload all or some of the stuff that's in that trailer. Then you're gonna bring it over here, let it sit while you're sorting or manipulating, the stuff inside. And then you're gonna bring those trailers back and fill parts, and then you're gonna have other, stuff inside that'll be filled up, or that'll be manufactured or made, maybe go into a different trailer. So they're gonna need a little bit of time. Some are gonna be, wheels, some will be, not wheels, but wheels, then if it were a car, wheels, then chassis, then hoods. Can't load that all in at the same time. Bad answer?
Somewhat.
Or not clear?
I'm just trying to be clear on what the future is
What the
of the
operation.
building and what the operation is. So if we don't know what businesses are actually going to be in the building, how in the world do we know what kind of truck traffic we're going to have to and from the building?
Good questions. You're not gonna have more trucks than what you can park there, we know that. So by limiting that number of parking stalls to whatever we have here, you will not have more trucks than that, for sure.
Yeah, I'll just say, we don't know who the user is, and even if we did, the user is gonna change over time.
Yeah.
Could, every 5-10 years, or maybe they're there for longer.
Therein lies the rub that really bothers me, is industrial next to residential. Because if we don't, we're talking about it today, we have no idea what's going to be in that building. We have no idea what kind of truck traffic is going to go in and out of there, because we don't know who's going to be there or what they're going to produce or not produce or move. And then even if we did today, and they were going to bring 3 trucks in a week and leave them sit there, 3 years from now, a different business is in there, and we've rezoned it industrial, and now you have truck traffic going in and out of there like UPS or FedEx or Amazon because they needed extra warehouse. Then we have a horrible thing in these folks' backyard, even more so than what they're experiencing now. That's what really bothers me.
So, thank you, John.
Yeah. Could I just add one more thing
Yeah.
to answer your question, Keith? So long as we don't have doors on both sides, that will severely limit the amount of truck traffic that's coming in and out of there. These cross docks, they're the ones that really drive the truck traffic. This thing's going to be intended to have office up front, and then the warehouse, manufacturing, and stuff in the middle, and then the trucks will only be on one side. So, anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
You said we had one online?
Yes, Eric, if you have any comments, you can speak. Maybe. Eric, do you have any comments?
Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yep, Eric's up at 11534 Brickhaven Trail. I guess just speaking out to kind of support residents that have already spoken, acknowledge their concerns. There's quite a bit of context in city code that references the impact on well-being, enjoyment of your residence or property. And I think those things do need to be considered here. The other part is I guess I'm curious how far the setback is set at that parking lot relative to the mobile home residential properties. Related to other things that I've been involved with lately, it would appear that Dayton's setbacks relative to adjacent residential property are quite a minimum compared to some other cities. And I think that considers or warrants evaluation in something like this, and even moving forward with future industrial or commercial type projects near residential. Maple Groves is 100 feet setback. I believe Plymouth is 75. Us at 20 is very inadequate, and whatever goes forward here or doesn't go forward here with this concept plan, I do think a increased setback, if anything else, would be warranted to help protect these residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll let John be.
Okay.
Anyone else for the public hearing? With that, we will close the public hearing at 7:25. First off, I'd like to thank the residents for coming and speaking. Not often we get many.
Yeah, I agree.
First, wanted to start with that. I understand and I understand and have some concerns about both what Eric was saying with the setbacks. If we were to go forward and rezone this, that's something that I would think we'd want to put some thought into on this property. In particular, as well as our code in whole. That's something we should really look at.
Yeah, I guess the discussion item that John started to talk about a little bit was the highest and best use. Where I struggle is if this became more residential, they're just going to be budding industrial anyway. And so from that standpoint, it doesn't seem like the residential is going to be feasible from what the feedback we're hearing, where industrial is. It seems to me it should be industrial, but we need to, and I don't know what steps we can really take to solve the problems next abutting the residential uses. From what I'm hearing is they're hearing noises already pretty far away. So obviously berming and trees and the fencing is going to be necessary, but to me the highest and best use is still industrial, because if you turn it into mobile home, we're just going to have the exact same thing. We're going to be putting more manufactured housing next to MTL, which is a much more intensive use. It was one of the concerns I had when we approved MTL. And to me, this is a much less intensive use, but it's still going to be a burden to the residents. Absolutely, I'm acknowledging that. It's going to be a burden. But to me, I still think it's industrial, and we have to do our best to work with the applicant to minimize the impacts.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to echo that in some respect. I mean, in the staff report, or at least when John was giving his analysis, he indicated that this was at one point guided for industrial use, correct? And then it got switched over to the mobile park guidance, just to accommodate or potentially to accommodate a larger or an expansion of the mobile home park that's currently there. Obviously, this property is for sale for a reason, right? The market's not there, or the current owner doesn't see expanding the mobile park to be financially feasible for any kind of development of expanding that park. The question then becomes, well, what do you do with that property? It's guided for mobile homes, and from what we see, that the market's not going to support mobile homes to go in there. In my experience, the best thing to do is to revert back to what the initial guidance was, and that'd be back to light industrial. Every city has the issue and problem and concern of where and when residential butts up against some other type of use that's not residential. And it's a common concern in every city. It's a common concern for all the residents in those cities that have butt next to commercial, that have butt next to industrial. It's the hardest thing to plan for, because you're not going to make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time with this. I think, I have sympathy for the residents there. I mean, during some of the testimony that we heard in front of us tonight, I came back to some of the discussions we had for comp plan amendments along French Lake Road and 117th. And a lot of the comments from the planning commission was, well, we want to make sure that, to try to keep industrial as far away from residential as possible, for the same exact reasons why the residents here tonight were explaining, the noise issues, the vibration issues, so on and so forth. Don't want to see semi-traffic as prevalent. And those were the same concerns that the Planning Commission had. I acknowledge it's is a different situation, different part of the city. If you look at the comp plan guidance map that was up before, completely surrounding this current residential home property is industrial and commercial. That's the nature of the guidance for this area of the city. It just is. Going back to the highest and best use, I would have to revert back to saying the highest and best use, given the uses around this area, is going to go to be back to industrial. And the fact that we have to do our job to make sure to mitigate everything we can to make it as less impactful as far as noise and traffic and all that stuff as we possibly can. It's not going to satisfy the residents 100%. I get that. But I think the best thing for the city to move forward is to revert this back to industrial.
I think I'd concur with Darren and Jeff too. It was 5 years ago when we saw that mobile home expansion project that ended up not happening. So obviously the market shifted, and this area is obviously, this is one of the last pockets of land in the area. There's a couple other ones, but that are kind of guided for industrial. It's tough. I mean, this property is just set up well for large industrial and to try to be a nice neighbor with the way that it has to be placed. I totally understand the applicant's desires to have the parking and office towards the lake. That's obviously a huge amenity. I guess I'd be curious to see what a plan looked like where it does flip, just to understand like how it works, if the trucks could go on the other side to just get them farther away, or is it a more substantial sound wall that you see along a freeway or something like that, but then that blocks the morning sunlight from the residents, right? So I mean, there's no great solution here. Yeah, I don't know, do you?
This whole project here, to me, just, it festers in my mind, not just here, and it's not your project, it's how the city looks at, or has looked at in the past, in putting commercial or industrial products right next to residential. It bothers me. My personal opinion is Dayton has done a horrible job. And I realize, like Jeff says, that it's difficult. It's difficult to try to figure out where you're going to merge one type of activity into another, and especially it becomes more difficult when you're talking about people's lives, their livelihoods, their sense of well-being, living in their home, being able to sleep in their bed at night without listening to a truck sitting out there idling all night on a street or in a parking lot. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're talking about. And I've had this discussion up here before. I do not think we've done a good job at protecting people in residential when we're talking about putting commercial or especially industrial right up next to them. I think we had to have a way bigger buffer zone. And if we had that, I don't know that this property works for what we've heard described here today. It may not. I don't know. But I don't carry that burden on my shoulders. I understand the plight of the applicant trying to get this rezoned so that they can put this structure there. I get that. I mean, you're trying to build something, you're trying to sell property, you're trying to put a building on there and make money. I understand the whole process. But somebody's got to be sitting there protecting the people that live there. And I carry that on my shoulders. I wouldn't, if I lived on that street today, and maybe this carries a little heavier on me because I've lived on York Avenue when I was a kid. My parents lived in that mobile home court for 5 years before they bought the farm that we moved off to. I lived there when all those homes that they live in were moved in there. I was their paper boy, their first paper boy. So I go way back on this whole area.
What's a paper?
I don't, I'm painting myself as old, I get it. When I had to put a 7 in front of my age, I realized I was old. But I have a hard time putting this kind of development next to people's backyards. I just do. I mean, I feel for you guys, I get it, I understand why you're here. But I think we need to look really closely at what we're going to do to those people's lives. I think what we did with the development on the property to the south of this, in allowing that parking and those trucks right up to the back of people's house, there's no way that we should have done that. That's my opinion. We've seen the result of it. You've told us what the result of that is. It's not good. That whole 40 acres there, I remember when that was all woods, the property south of you. I remember when a friend of mine's dad cleared the property and turned it into farm property. And now when I look at it now and I see all those industrial things right up where I lived on York, they'd be in my backyard. I wouldn't want that there. Heck, I was mad when they took the woods away and farmed it for a farm field. I thought that was horrible. But then I was only 10 years old, so I just have a real problem, not specifically with anything that you're talking about, but just with the way the city looks at how we butt those two together.
And I think, Keith, you're hitting on exactly, Keith and Jeff, you guys are hitting on exactly our job. And I want to point out and make it clear that just because we did something on a project south of here or talked about something at the industrial park off 117th, and we did something there or talked about doing something there, doesn't make it right. And we owe it to both the developer and the citizens of Dayton to find a way to make this work. I'm sketching up here on mine a little bit of a concept, trying to look at, can we, on that, it'd be the north or the southwest corner of the building, can we mirror the angle that you have on the southeast corner? Can we mirror that, try to pull the driveway in a little bit, get a 60-foot buffer from the driveway and the trailer parking to the property line? I mean, we heard, I didn't fact check it, but we heard from one of the Eric Sepult, we heard 75 feet was what Plymouth uses, 100 feet is what Maple Grove uses. I started with 60. Without too much modification to the building, looking at some ideas to maybe, we don't have it that strict in our guidance, but maybe it's something we can do with the developer on this one to try to get something better. I don't like it. I'll say that. I don't like the fact that we're putting trailer parking next to residential. I don't mind light industrial next to residential. But the trailer parking is what has me hung up on this. So if it were more of a manufacturing with a few bays to get material out of there, fine. If it's trailer parking that is, constantly moving around stuff, loading up vehicles, there's a difference there in the operation. And that's what I have a hard time with, is not knowing what the operation is going to be.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot here, but we knew exactly what MTL's operation was, and we approved it. And so, I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot. I know I was probably the biggest negative sayer about the MTL one. And I guess one thing there's some mitigating things I'd like to say about this plan when we get to that point. But in general, I do think it's an industrial use, and we do need to keep moving forward with an applicant, with the residents, to mitigate all the concerns. And maybe that even means, I know Peter sketched up something he can share with the applicant to make sure that he has understanding, but maybe that also means cutting off, 5 to 10 truck stalls closest to the manufactured housing park or something like that. But I think there's things we can do, and it's also important to know, everyone here, that this is just a concept plan hearing. No actions are being taken, this is going to the council. And so, that's where, I guess I'll just move into my feedback for the applicant, because, that's kind of where we're at, is I'm in favor of the rezoning to industrial. And anything you can do, whether that be flipping the building, maybe the suggestion of Peter's doing of putting the other 45-degree angle on the other corner, so you're just shifting more of the traffic away, and maybe even taking off 5 to 10 stalls in that corner. I think that would be some mitigating things. And the berming and landscaping is spend the landscaping dollar requirement in that area.
I think all those suggestions are good to start to move towards what some kind of mitigating factors might be. In reality, I think shifting, a driveway 10 feet is not going to make much of a difference for noise mitigation, especially if there's constant traffic out there. Vibrations too, even shifting it 60 feet is, as far as noise is concerned, you're not going to find much alleviation from that with adding a 60-foot buffer onto whatever's out there right now. Even sound walls they look nice, they're expensive, they don't do a great job. They maybe do a good job on the other side of that wall within 10 or 20 or 50 feet maybe, but anything past that, you're hearing all the noise anyway. So I will go back to saying that I do still think the highest and best use here is industrial because of the fact of what all the other area is guided for and used for right now. If we knew the market for mobile homes was good, this would already be developed, right? It would already be residential, and I forget which commissioner said it, but I think it was Brower here. We'd be running into those same issues with the impact of the residential up against an industrial zone district. So I think the best way for us to move forward is to try to mitigate as much as we can, even if it may not make much of a difference, to try to minimize the impact between those two types of uses.
I'm not the expert on noise, but I know berms can help too, so the more, if there is any shifting of moving stuff and creating more space, like the 60-foot buffer, it gives you a chance to berm a little better too. And that can help with noise.
We spend a lot of time talking about noise, but we also think be concerned about lighting too. These truck courts usually are pretty well lit, and obviously you'd want to see a photometric plan to make sure light's not going across. But even if light isn't landing on somebody's property, you still see the light source, and that's a annoyance. So I think just if this does move forward, you're going to be very thoughtful on how the back of this building is lit. How tall the lights are, which way they're facing, all that. Yeah, I agree. We can make a lot of little moves, but the fact of the matter is, like right now, the closest truck trailer parking is within 100 feet of probably 5 or 6 different mobile homes, and that's close. It's too close. Yeah, I don't know. I agree industrial is probably the right use for this, but just the size of this building that we're trying to put on here and the use of it and amount of truck traffic just feels like it's too much. The building looks nice though, for considering some precast buildings that we see. It's a nicely, the corners look good, and the, ground and base of the building are well addressed, so.
So one question I have just before, with the applicant too, with regards to flipping the building. I understand the view of French Lake can be attractive in the future, but when Mr. Roush eventually sells that property and gets developed, if there was a 20-foot tall, 28-foot tall building there, it probably will block the view. And so one thing to be thinking about too is, what that user and leasing activity when something goes in there, because the one applicant that came in there was pretty intensive outdoor storage. So your views would have been of an outdoor storage area. And we don't know exactly what that property is going to become. So just something to keep in mind.
The other thing I was gonna bring up, and Darren, you usually bring up the parking on the other, the car parking, vehicle parking.
It looks like a lot.
It looks like a lot, and one of the things I was gonna suggest too is, as you look at, as we look at it, you know, it feels like it's overparked for what it is. You know, maybe there's a way we've got 64 feet of pavement on the southeast side of the building. Is there a way to maybe eliminate those stalls along that southeast side and just have a ring road and shift the building? That would allow you to shift the building maybe just a hair, you know, 12, 15 feet. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it might, all these little things will add up, right?
The one thing I will say about when you do have a lot of parking, your odds of getting a manufacturing and a less truck-intensive use goes up, so.
Peter, you were talking about this parking lot.
Yeah, that parking lot there. You know,
And, you know, I don't know how many semi-truck trailers will ever be parked here, but there's a lot of these type of properties that they use half that truck parking. It really depends on the user. It could be a user that uses them all.
Was it feasible to not build the truck parking day one and have it go sit in and be there? So if a tenant comes in saying we need 12 truck spots and you build out 12 truck spots and you don't put the money in day one, you just have the space there?
might be something.
So then it could right size it?
And, you know, I'd be maybe even a little bit more generous, so like 20, to make it more, so maybe you don't have to touch it for quite a while. But it would basically cut it in half and use the south half, east half first, and, but you could have it like approved that, you know, you could expand.
I guess the other thing on this concept plan that concerns me is we've got 3 very big stormwater ponds, management areas. What's the landscaping gonna look like in the landscaping requirements?
Not a lot of room to put
Right.
landscaping when I look at it. Well, and again, this is why I think that with our new landscaping code, we have some flexibility. There's a lot of mature trees being kept on here. I mean, to me, landscape around the building, landscape around the ponds, and more importantly, spend the landscaping money along the manufactured housing.
And that's where I was gonna go, is there doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of room on that side to put landscaping in on that side. That is gonna be of any value.
Yeah, and unfortunately, those stormwater ponds at the north are negating the ability to put the landscaping up there, so those houses are gonna have full view of the building.
There should still be some room on the west side of that big pond for everyone,
Yeah.
so I hope.
Yeah.
Or you resize the pond to allow for landscaping on the west side.
Well, it's stormwater management area, so it could be it might not be a pond per se,
Right.
but.
Peter J. was raising.
It might be a
his
dry
tax
pond.
on
Oh, it
the-
is, or-
The owner.
Yeah, come out, Coach Jay. Sorry, I said I was gonna invite you up again and have a conversation, and we got right into it, but. I guess, it's a concept plan, so just reiterating, right, we're not gonna take any action. We're giving guidance to the applicant, giving guidance to the city council when it comes in front of them on how we feel, and so.
Great. So we do appreciate all the comments that the residents have stated tonight. You know, we feel for them. You know, we're not here to be a nuisance. We're not here to cause noise. We're not here to cause, 4 a.m. traffic. I think I counted on an area within a half mile, there's 9 industrial buildings located in its proximity. So I don't think this project is going to be the beginning of what already exists. Unfortunately, there are buildings that are zoned industrial that this traffic and these roads were designed to handle that traffic. We're not here, as John said, to do a cross-dock, which is 24/7 operation where trucks are in and out all day long, all throughout the night. This is office warehouse. This is the way it's set up, to be high finish in the front and for businesses to do their business and operate, 7 to 5 p.m., most likely, on the weekdays. Weekends, ghost town. That's how most of industrial buildings function that are not distribution facilities. And we're not setting this up for a distribution facility. We're trying to attract high-quality tenants that have high-paying jobs and bring employees and improve the tax base. So I want to first say that I don't think that this proposed project, whether we move the building 10 feet, 5 feet, take 12 feet off of a driveway, is really going to limit the existing noise that's already out there. So I respect the comment, but I don't think that this is going to be the majority of the cause that's out there. So I just wanted to state that publicly. And, you know, this is my 7th meeting in this council chambers, 4th with you guys. And, you know, we were over at DDL before, and there was, should we do industrial, should we do residential? And a couple moratorium came in, and then there was industrial right next to residential. Let's put an apartment building there, because industrial trucks are gonna go out on the road, so let's put residential right next to industrial. So we've seen this occur multiple times. It's you know, it's not a perfect situation for everything, but, you know, we're trying to buy land that at one point was zoned industrial. It's costly. The project is costly, so we want to work with city staff, we want to work with engineering on what would make it a better project, but to cut the building in half or downsize it or move it 100 feet over, you know, we're also trying to work around the TEP panel. TEP panel is very protective of the waterways and the wetlands and the trees, so we're trying to manage all of this here, but in reality, you know, this is concept to say, can we garner support? Because, you know, to go forward to the next level, as you know, is a big investment. So we want to get, you know, either a yes or a no that we should go forward, or if this is something the city would like to see happen in Dayton, or if we're going to get shut down. I mean, that's basically why we're here. You know, we spent a lot of time and energy on it thus far, believe it or not. So.
In part of, you know, so it's going to take the applicant time to prepare a preliminary plat. The south ditch, I believe it's under control or under authority of the Army Corps of Engineer. Takes a long time to get a permit for that. So the idea with the concept plan is to get a definite answer if there's support to amend the comprehensive plan or not. If there's not, there's no point in going through the time and expense of preparing more detailed plans. So I guess, you know, more questions I have for the commission, so I have definite answers from 3 of them. Peter, as far as the highest and best use, whether it's industrial or a mobile home?
I'll state it this way, as the concept plan is shown, I'm okay with it being industrial. I don't agree with the concept plan.
Sure. Okay.
Is where I'm at. And it was pointed out, and I just want to state it was pointed out, we've got some big flaws that we need to solve. We ran into those issues with DDL, as you mentioned too. And so we've got to solve some of those issues for me to be comfortable with putting something next to a residential. But for the property as a whole, I think there's plenty of space on this property to put industrial and have a highest and best use with that.
Okay. And Keith?
I'm not in favor of industrial next to residential, period.
Okay.
So then, anything?
I've heard what the applicant has said about regarding their feedback. I think the only thing I would encourage you is, like, when you go to council, is continue to maybe fine tune what you're gonna. I mean, I get it that you can't eliminate the noise for the residents, but, you know, present as good a plan as you think you can to council when you take this in front of them about whether it's a berming, a wall, landscaping, stuff like that. And if you're going to make any changes by potentially reducing some of the trailer parking stalls where they are closest to the residential, that's probably the easiest change. That's what I would encourage you to think about, because I have a feeling you're going to get the same feedback from the council.
And yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to, like as John mentioned, I'd be happy to share with what I kind of sketched up just as an idea. It's literally, I mimicked the 45 or angle on the south side and popped it over on the west side. and straightened the driveway out a little bit, and I eliminated, it was five of the truck parking stalls, and I think 5 bays get eliminated. It's not a huge, it doesn't feel like a huge impact from someone who doesn't do these buildings, but if I were a resident right there and someone were to put this in front of me versus that concept, I'd take that concept all day long. And so it's giving a little bit more room for that landscaping and buffer. And if you have to increase the building size, right, the parking on that southwest or southeast side seems like it could be eliminated or reduced. I know you said 12 feet doesn't matter to you guys, but 12 feet when someone's house is there or a fence is there or a shed, right, 12 feet matters to those people who are using
I
that
think
property.
it's more the visual than it is the sound.
Yep.
Completely understand you. I think our issue on that southeast portion is more to do with the, the waterway. Even reducing the parking, unfortunately, the building, you'd see, we'd have to continue angling it almost to a point. But understand the comments on the parking, and we'll look into, ways we can fix it.
Yeah, I mean, and I would offer up that, we are willing to take 10, 12 trailer parking stops out of the top left corner if that's too close to the adjacent residential. That can be easily adjusted.
Yeah. And then I guess the other thing, John, kind of can outline the next steps in this process.
So the next step, this is a public hearing. This will go through the same format for the city council. That is not a public hearing, but council often does accept public comments. Can't see half the group. And that will go to the city council on Tuesday, April 24th.
And then
28th, I'm sorry. Tuesday, April 28th.
And then we would again have a public hearing to amend the.
Yes, so of the items, there's 4 applications that are needed. This would all happen concurrently, so there'll be another public hearing.
Another public hearing for more.
Comprehensive plan amendment, the zoning map amendment, the preliminary plat, and the site plan.
And the site plan. So with that, and this is more for the residents in the room, that with that, right, there's another chance to voice some opinions, see a refined concept or plan, understand what the landscaping is gonna be, what the treatments are gonna be.
Yeah, and outside of the city process, which John has outlaid, the wetlands are another process, and so that's about a 5 to 6 month process. So that's also something that we're tracking and monitoring and wanted to discuss with your board here tonight to kind of go through what the initial findings are. And, we feel if warranted, if we have support to move forward on an industrial project, that we would also engage the wetlands application, because that takes 5 to 6 months, and we would try to dual path both the city process and the wetlands kind of at the same time. So it would, fast forward 6 months, if it all comes together, that's kind of where we would be.
Did you have a question for us on the wetlands, or do you think that you got what you needed from us? I don't know if any of us are qualified to say much about wetlands, other than as long as you guys are getting the approval.
No, obviously Melissa laid it out, I think, pretty clearly that the wetland up front in the yellow where the vehicle parking is pretty much incidental, and so that was our intent, to pull that building as far away from residential as possible. So we didn't want to push it back towards the residential as the one rectangular image showed. We want to put it as far up because we think that was, as Melissa said, obviously there's been trails, and I don't know what the incidental version of that wetland is, but it seems like it might be able to be mitigated, but we have to go through that process. We just wanted to inform you of, we've looked into it, and Melissa's the scientist and expert behind it, and she gave her viewpoint on it, so we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
I think that concludes that item, item 8B.
we do that?
I did close the public hearing,
Okay.
7:25. 7:25, I believe.
losing it.
Both of us are.
I'll work on my timing. Okay, item 8F is a public hearing for an amendment to the zoning ordinance for section 11135 regarding accessory buildings and structures. The Plan Commission previously discussed this, and I apologize, I can't remember what month it was. And this is specific to shipping containers, of should they be allowed in Dayton or not. Currently, shipping containers, the use of shipping containers as a permanent structure are prohibited. The city code does allow their temporary use up to 9 months, but not as a permanent use. And I'm sure as the commission is aware, these are scattered throughout Dayton, both on residential property, on farms, and as well as on industrial property. So kind of where this came about. In recent years, we've had, the city has approved of, I'm going to say, a small handful of interim use permits for, whether for home businesses or for event centers that use shipping containers, either as storage or, in one case, it was used as a concession stand or a haunted house maze. They've had different uses for this. And I guess from my interpretation, I think they've become more popular, more accepted. That leads to the commission's discussion and direction of, if we amend the ordinance, what would this look like? The draft ordinance would allow shipping containers on parcels that are 5 acres or more, whether it's residential or agricultural. So if you have 5 acres, you would be allowed 1 shipping container, and then 1 additional shipping container for every 10 acres. So 5 acres, it's 1 container, 10 acres, it's 2, 20 acres, it's 3. And that's the start of the conversation. I did have a resident that's submitted their idea for an ordinance amendment that was provided to the commission just in paper.
That's what this one is.
Yes, and I believe that was to allow shipping containers on property that is 1 or more acres. So,
I think it's right underneath.
you say they did a very good job at writing the code.
John, am I reading that right, where it says
no, right.
the metal storage containers shall not count towards accessory, or?
Yes, and
Okay.
the reasoning for that is more administrative. It's just difficult to manage. So shipping containers come in different sizes, whether it's a full 52 length or 20-foot length.
But if they require a permit, we'll
If
have the
it's
square
more than
footage.
200 square feet.
Yeah, we'll have the square footage. To me, I think they should count towards it. Meaning, whatever you use for accessory structure, use kind of what you want, but it goes towards whatever the limits are in that district.
Yes, I mean, well, it's a shed or a storage
Yes.
container.
I kind of feel like it needs to be part of the formula.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the extra burden if they put a bunch of 120 square foot storage containers on you, but they're easy to measure with GIS on your computer.
Yeah,
Ish.
they're always square.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, for that purpose, it's close enough, right?
All right. That's what I was just curious about, that verbiage.
Sure.
It seems like we should include them in the total.
Right, one or the other,
Yeah.
or both, depending on the square footage.
Right. Depending on what you're allowed in your zone.
Yeah. What do we think of the 5 acre lot minimum compared to a 1 acre?
I think.
1 acre lot's decent enough size that if a storage container's a storage container. I mean, there's obviously going to be certain HOAs that don't allow them, and that's their choice, and that's where you live. So part of me says because of that, it's just metal storage sheds, I know you gave the example of a wood shed, but you can put some metal storage sheds up that are a lot cheaper than $10,000 if you really want to. And don't probably look as attractive as a metal storage container that's painted appropriately. So, I'm not against going a little bit smaller.
And I should say.
What was the staff's logic for not doing smaller?
5 acres is what you need in order to park a semi-trailer on your property. You know, so semi-trailer being similar to a shipping container.
That's in our ordinance?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a 40-foot shipping container, though.
Not, yeah, and everyone puts all different size shipping containers.
Right, but you can get a
Yeah.
6x6 shipping container.
Yeah.
And I would think that if the shipping container fits the current ordinance for people putting or building a wood shed in their backyard, that we shouldn't care what type of building they put up, as long as it looks nice, as long as it conforms to the standards of the community, right?
Yeah, like, which we kind of put in there matching the primary house color or whatever.
Obviously, like a shipping container is not going to have the same aesthetic as a house.
But it could be
Right?
made
I mean,
that way,
You
though.
know, like the shed up on the top one, you could that might match the house perfectly with the aesthetic and colors and shingles and everything. The shipping container.
Those,
you could paint it, but
those clearly don't.
painting it.
So,
In that picture there.
That's a red
So-
one matches the barn.
and the
That's a
top,
green one, there's 2 of them there.
the top one's blue and the house is blue. But I guess, Keith, what I'm hearing out of you, and I'm, right, we just talked about trailer parking next to residential. And to me, if I had to look at one of those, that's no different than looking at a trailer.
Except it doesn't move and make noise.
Right, it doesn't sit and idle all night and rattle
I don't
the
know,
walls.
I don't know,
Slidest
people
doors.
slam, yeah, people slam those doors pretty good too.
Well, those doors make noise when you shut them if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
I think the 5-acre requirement also helps mitigate some of the issues that people might have as far as seeing them,
Yes.
hearing them,
think it-
potentially whatever it might be. My thought on the 5-acre minimum requirement is that's kind of pseudo agricultural sized pieces of property, right? So you get into your single-family housing developments, you're not going to be getting any not many 1-acre properties, right? But I would think that any kind of new housing development like the one I live in, the HOAs aren't going to allow these things anyway.
Right.
They just won't. And our lots are considerably smaller than 1 acre. They're probably a third of an acre, right? So I don't see it being an issue with the newer developments because they're not going to be allowed anyway. I think there is some freedom for larger properties, like 5 acres might need the need for these types of things more than a 1 acre property for extra storage of materials or equipment or whatever it might be to maintain the property, just like their a storage shed or a pole barn or whatever else they might be using. So I like the 5 acre threshold, especially because it mimics the threshold for parking a semi-trailer on there. I look at these things more of the agricultural type of use anyway than a residential use. I mean, you obviously could have a residential house on an agricultural piece of property and have this on there, but that's kind of my interpretation that this is more of an ag use anyway, so 5 acres, I'm comfortable with that.
So, Mr. Fisher's not here tonight. I just pulled his property up. He's on 4 acres. And he's got a barn and he's got horses. I could see something, this is where I'm not in favor, I could actually see something less than 5 acres for a property like his. Where he could put one of these on his property and make it work. I'd be willing to go down to 2 acres. 1 acre, we see a lot of 1 acres in our newer residential subdivisions. The 2 acre properties, we don't see, I don't remember seeing one of those.
Right.
And so I could see going down to 2 acres.
I'd be comfortable with that too.
And that's kind of why I pulled up his house, was to see how big it was.
Yeah.
The neighborhood directly west of Central Park and the City Hall here, Norwood Lane and 137th, those are all 2 to 2.5 acre properties, and I walk my dog through there occasionally, and it's a nice neighborhood. It's, established houses, mostly,
Is there an HOA in there?
I don't know if there's an HOA, probably not.
Would these fit your,
So I don't know if I'd want to see shipping containers in that neighborhood. Because there's trees.
3 acres. Right?
Yeah,
3
so I mean
acres.
that's where it's like I don't know. But I agree. Like 5 acre lot feels good. I think Fisher's property is 3.99, so even
Yeah.
if we went to 4, he still wouldn't qualify because we don't round.
And more what I was saying is like, right, his types of use that he's
Yes.
using, it's a hobby farm.
Yeah,
And that's kind of where, how do you draw the line on that?
yeah.
And I don't want to overcomplicate this, but when I think of a smaller parcel, I don't think of the big 48-foot shipping
Yeah.
container.
No.
I think of a smaller
Smaller
one that
one on
might
the
just
bottom
be
there.
appropriate.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like,
Well, we have limits
people-
on of the size that they can build an outbuilding now, or shed, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, if you were on a 2-acre lot or a 2.5-acre lot, how big of an outbuilding or a shed can you put on that lot today? Go buy some butt ugly thing from Menards.
I gotta read.
I'm pretty sure you
Do a
can
little
put
research.
a 48-foot shipping container. If that's 8 foot wide, that'd be what? Once my math hurt me, 500.
I don't do math in my head.
But I think it's more than, I think it's closer to 1,000 if my brain, or 800, my brain, John will tell us.
Yeah, I feel like
2,000
acre is too
square
small.
What was it?
For an industrial.
2,000 square feet for over 1 acre. Yeah. I'm going to say our ordinance on accessory buildings is, one of the more difficult sections of our code.
And I guess, I know we had this discussion of why aren't we just looking at these like accessory buildings
Yeah.
again? Why are we distinguishing them?
Because they're
Why
more
do people
industrial
have
in look.
beef against them if you make them match? Like, I think campers can be more of a eyesore that move 3 times all year in someone's backyard for a neighbor, than a storage container that someone painted. And I guess
Like, can we, like, somebody throws a shipping container down, and we're saying they're gonna paint it and make it look nice, but are they? I mean, there's a decent expense to that too, and maintaining it.
Through
more
building,
effort.
through permit process, they
Yeah.
would have.
They would have to, yeah.
You'd have to show, that'd be the.
If it's over
the
200 square
qualifying
feet.
If it's over
right.
200.
If it's over 200.
Yeah.
It's
do people
difficult.
really-
But our code still would require, even under 200 square foot, if our code says it has to be matching the principal structure and color and building material, whatever the code says, they still have to meet the code, and if they don't, then it's an enforceable action, right? So,
Yeah, what's difficult, a lot of this is subjective, so we have the photos here where, the top photo, I don't know what color the house is, but I'm gonna guess it matches the shed. And the shipping container is the same general shade of beige, or similar to beige.
what I'm saying though is if we ever got a complaint on a shipping container that's under 200 square feet that didn't need a permit, and it was obvious that it did not meet the intent of the code for matching compatible building colors or materials or whatever the code says, we as a city could say, guess what, you need to either paint it or get it off your property.
Yeah.
Right, so, and that would be based on complaints that would come in from neighbors that say, this thing just moved in the backyard, it's an eyesore. City, please do something about it,
Well-
right, so. And I think you're getting less of those types of complaints with larger properties because of
Yes.
maybe the way the properties are currently being used, or the way that somebody is using their property and, wants one of these things for their convenience also. Still have to meet the minimum code requirements for how it looks and where it's put.
So is there, I'm just interpreting the comments I'm hearing, is there a consensus to just treat shipping containers similar to any other accessory building?
I'm starting to come around on that, just
That's
to
my-
simplify things.
that's my take on it.
Yes.
Always, I feel
That's-
like we're just trying to overanalyze it. And
Right, otherwise we're setting up a whole new set of rules.
Yeah, 'cause
all
we've already
for different-
overanalyzed it.
I would agree with that, John.
Okay.
Well, that also means potentially if the code requires proper foundation and things like that, right? So it's, under 200 square feet, maybe you don't require, maybe it's just a slab on grade, who knows? But, anything over 200 square feet with a building permit required, you probably want proper foundation or whatever that might be to meet code requirements.
They would have to be anchored, so essentially, and I'm not a building official, so I'm interpreting a little bit of, essentially a big screw anchor that you're tying the building or the structure to so it doesn't blow away.
So how does, I haven't built my shed yet, so how does, our building, but I have done other building permits through the city. how does the building permit for like a shed go if I wanted to build something over 200 square feet? Do they come out and inspect it just like
Yes.
you would your basement?
Yep.
Okay.
They did it to me.
Setbacks and.
Setbacks
They'll
and
look at
everything.
your plans of what you're submitting to say, here's what I want to build, and they're gonna make sure it's structurally, it has structural integrity and it.
But if I
meets
have
code
one-
and-
And so where I'm going with that is, this may be this is maybe why we need to separate it, because these aren't buildings.
Yes, they are,
We would treat them as a structure.
yeah.
Not in the building code, we'd have to figure that out. That,
Yeah.
have we talked to West Metro on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we would treat it the same.
Yeah, in West Metro, when they inspected mine, it was more about, am I meeting setbacks? It wasn't like a house inspection as far as building code.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Right, they don't tell you to build it out of 2x4s, 2x6s,
Right.
2x2s.
Right, they go, oh, you should use more
The
stronger
structural,
trusses.
And that's-
structural integrity of the
Okay,
building
Well, they
itself
would,
is.
they would do the
look at.
manufacturing specifications, they would look at those to say, is it meeting minimum code requirements for?
If mine on a two-dimensional Excel met that, I'd be shocked, but
There
that's
you
what I
go.
gave mine. And
And that's what I was wondering is, what are we having them come out and inspect? On these, if someone were to put in a gravel foundation,
We
right?
wouldn't, I don't think they would
Re-
necessarily need a gravel
required it, no.
foundation, it's just the anchoring.
It's the anchoring.
Just put a couple of helical anchors in. and
Okay, that's,
Attach it.
yeah, I don't think with the
If it's
steel
gonna be a
container, I
permanent.
don't think you got to.
Probably not.
From a safety standpoint, a steel container like this sitting in somebody's backyard in a quote thunderstorm or terrible storm.
That's where you go.
I would rather have that sitting in my neighbor's yard than a stick building or a shed that they bought from Menards or Lowe's or whatever, because
Yeah.
those, I've seen those things just explode. You could drive a tank on these things.
No.
You could set 15 of them. You can see them on ships, right? They stack them
Yeah.
up 15 high, full of product. I mean, you're not gonna hurt one of these things.
Well, and
These
I'm not-
things are strong.
I'm not worried about that. I was just wondering if they do look at the building itself like they do an addition to a home. And if they don't, then that's fine. The other question I had in that regard, and why the foundation might be important, is we want these to, I mean, the homeowner's gonna want them to sit level, but we're gonna want them to sit level long-term. If someone's putting these in, they don't have the equipment to move it or adjust it.
Do you think everyone builds their sheds square?
Can't,
I would hope so.
Carpenter's kit.
I would hope so.
you can't tell when you got a peaked roof, right?
Right.
No, I hear
what you're saying.
it's something to think about, and that's the engineer in me coming out of, do we require them to put down some sort of aggregate base or?
So when you think about it,
something?
you could go buy a pre-built stick frame shed,
Yep,
and a lot of people just set them on concrete paver patio blocks in their backyard.
Yep.
That's probably what'll happen with a lot of these too.
yep.
I'll add, for anyone that has a driveway, you can put in a concrete pad and the pad settles.
Yep.
Concrete doesn't crack.
I'm
it's-
just, and I'm running through the scenarios that may be a little different than someone building a shed. And trying to just make sure we're vetting everything in that regard.
Yeah. Are there any downsides of treating these like accessory structures that anyone could think of?
We'll find out after the first few that go in. So, just to, for clarity again, currently you can't have a shipping container as a permanent structure in Dayton. I've had 6 examples that are here. So, I mean,
But
they
there
do
are
exist. And
more.
they've been there for many, many years. And I've had no complaints about any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just treat them the same as an accessory structure. If they're over 200 square feet, they have to get a permit, then
I do
West
agree.
Metro.
Yeah, I do
weighs
agree
in
that
on
they should count
detachment.
towards the overall square footage allotment for accessory
Yes.
structures on a property though,
Okay.
so.
Yep.
You're right.
Would you like to see the ordinance amendment before it goes to council? I mean, I'm clear in the direction that I'm getting.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
We hit basically all residential districts do we need to have anything different with other districts?
Yes, because in many commercial industrial, they're not allowed, so.
And we're sticking with that?
you-
To me, I'd prefer to
What
stick with it. I know there's an example out there. I feel really bad about it because I don't think it impacts them because they're where they're at, but I just don't want to see shipping containers stacked up in a new industrial park, but these guys are not in a new, they're surrounded by ag land, so I feel bad for it, but I don't think they should be allowed in commercial and industrial. That's my take.
I would tend to agree with them.
So no shipping containers in commercial industrial?
They can already do it temporarily, right?
They can do it temporarily, depending on the district. Should say in many districts, we do not allow accessory buildings other than through a conditional use permit. I guess my opinion, I think it'd be unreasonable to have to go through the conditional use permit process to get a shipping container. So I guess my opinion, either allow them or don't.
Is there any chance that if you're a user that had one, say you were an industrial user and you've had one on your property for 10 plus years, your grandfathered in?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I guess where I've seen them used on industrial I'm picking examples, not in Dayton, but, I've seen them on a lot of like construction, like their shop bays or areas. I don't know that we'll necessarily attract those in our industrial areas. The other one that I've seen that is different but similar, Kemp's uses them in Minneapolis, but they're on a flatbed still, but they're hooked up to plumbing and they have a bathroom in it, I believe. And so it's one of those, or maybe it's a parts cleaner, but it's to do maintenance on their trucks. And it looks like just one of their trucks in their parking lot, so you would never know driving by it, but it's something, like, I'm not opposed to it on industrial, but generally speaking, it doesn't make sense.
If we don't allow accessory buildings, I don't know why we'd allow this.
Especially if we're saying these should be treated as accessory
Yeah.
buildings.
Yeah.
So again, is there a consensus not to have shipping containers in commercial and industrial districts? I'm also assuming, I'm lumping mixed use in that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Forehead nods?
Yep.
Okay.
That leaves what? Ag district?
In residential.
Well, I think the residential, we're treating them as accessory structures in the ag district, because their accessory structure rules are so different. In particular on large parcels, do we need to even care about it or not?
Well,
And I've left the event center out, so let's come back to that. That's separate.
I would say treat it the same as accessory buildings, any other accessory building.
But on an egg parcel of over, I forget the acreage, but when you're over a certain acreage, you can pretty much have as many accessory buildings as you want. It's now more about the impervious surface coverage.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of flexibility. It doesn't really become an issue.
I don't see that being an issue, but I'm just.
The only exception I would make, in one of these examples, we have a 1 acre parcel that's zoned agricultural.
Oh, I think that the land size trumps the zoning. I hate to say it, but until we get our zoning lined up with the actual uses, because we have tons of small parcels zoned agricultural still. Tons of them. So to me, that agricultural has to still kind of follow the accessory code for building sizes, which I think will cover that then. It's the big ag parcels that maybe the 1 per 10 acre or 1 per 5 acre, you want to put something like that in.
Okay. So again, just my interpretation, treat shipping containers the same as accessory buildings, continue not to allow them as permanent structures on commercial, industrial, and mixed use. and that you would like to see this rewritten again before it goes to the city council, or not.
I feel like we're in pretty good consensus that I don't know if there's a need for us to see it one more time.
But where are we at with the acreage?
Yeah, with the acreage, I was gonna ask. What was
I mean,
the
I'm with
threshold?
Peter on, I think 2 or 2.5 acres.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
2.5 sounds okay. I don't.
Yeah.
I think 2 is good, because I think when you
Two's
run into
good.
2.5, you're gonna run into a lot of rounds that are right around 2.4.
There's a lot that start at 2.
Every lot that
You're already
people
gonna run
think
into
is
problems with 2
2.5
because
is
there's gonna
probably
be a
2.4
1.98,
something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be okay with 2. I feel like 1 acre lots are too small for an industrial shipping container.
Even if they're using it as their accessory, towards their accessory count? I guess that's where I'm confused. I thought if we're treating them like an accessory building, it doesn't matter your lot size to some degree.
I guess,
But you're still, with an accessory building, there's still a limit to the square footage you can have
Yeah.
for accessory structure with your house, right?
With your lot
So that
size,
would
yeah.
make sense then, right?
yeah,
Wouldn't have to,
so you wouldn't have a lot size.
I
requirement.
guess you
a
wouldn't
lot
have to,
requirement.
unless we're
Yeah,
missing
because
something.
it just follows
Joe.
accessory.
The smaller detached garage you can build, you know, essentially.
So,
Okay, yeah, I agree with that then.
Where I hesitate on that is, I would like to see the 1 acre. We do have a lot of new neighborhoods that don't have HOAs. So,
Well, there's legislation out there to propose that are looking to do away with all HOAs anyway.
That'll never happen.
Well, it's on the table, so, yeah.
So's the bridge over the Mississippi River,
Well,
my whole life.
well, yeah.
I
I'm just saying, the idea is that the HOAs aren't necessarily a permanent type of venture either, so. I like the 1 acre also. I think we should limit it, I mean, to properties more than 1 acre in size.
And I'm kind of where I'm at is it'd be good to know where John Smith lives and what his concern is with his property. And like, would that fit, right? If a 2 acre fits on his, then I'd go to 2 and, but.
It's gonna be arbitrary with the
It
land,
is.
so whether it's 1, 1.25, 1.5, I think it needs to be, it can't be more than 2. And I would be okay going even lower than 2, just looking at some of the lots, but I think 1.5's a better number than 1.
Mr. Chair, this is a public hearing. We do
Oh.
have one person online that would like to speak.
Sure. I will open the public hearing at 8:27.
And Eric, if you give me 1 second to. Morning. Okay, there we go.
Quick meeting now.
Eric, what do you have?
Yep. Eric Semples, 11534 Rayburn Trail. I know you guys had a lot of deliberation up there, and to be honest, I hate to kind of disagree with any of you, because I'm hoping all of you will be on my side in about a month here, but I think there's one piece that I feel like maybe hasn't been considered that I maybe have a little bit exposure to with the building being proposed near my home. You know, I live in a neighborhood that has really strong rules, but I live next to somewhere that does not. And I could see this happening to 1 acre, 2 acre, 5 acre lots that live next to somewhere else that maybe has rules. And just because 1 is allowed on 5 acres or 2 is allowed on 10 acres, does that mean you can stack all 2, 3, 4 that you can own on your 20, 30, 40 acre property in one area that is the farthest away from your residence, but very near someone else's residence? Because I think the setbacks right now would allow them to build it 5 to 10 feet, or not build it, but put up one of these shipping containers 5 to 10 feet from a neighboring residential property. And I think that's something to consider here. You know, shipping containers were never designed to be storage structures. They were designed for shipping on aquatic vessels, on semi-truck trailers, on railroad cars. And I think what we have in the ordinance is what we should stick with, that they're not allowed. They don't fit what I think the vision for our city should be. We're going to grow rapidly. Now, do I think these are going to be super common? Probably not. But we need to take into consideration, if they would become common, what do we really want scattered around our city as it will grow? And once one goes in and it's allowed to stay in, a residential property may be built up around that, and then they'd be stuck with the consequence. So I just ask that that be taken into consideration when we're deliberating something so extensively that, in my opinion, should just stay as is, where they're not allowed. There's other more suitable options to build a storage shed, to buy a prefabricated storage shed that meet the cohesive design that I would think we would want as we build out our city. I left a comment in the Q&A before in case I wouldn't be able to be present during this, but if porta potties became a common refurbished product for storage, would it be okay to start painting them the same color as the house and putting them in? So I don't think the fact that it's become common practice should be used as our standard of allowing it as common practice. So I appreciate your time. I respect your decisions. I hope that maybe some of these other points will be taken into consideration, with scripting things or deciding whether to move forward with this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, he was the only one online?
Yeah, the only one that had a question.
Or for the public hearing?
Yep.
All right, it is 8:31. I will close the public hearing.
I'm just going to add, this is a commission directive ordinance amendment. There's no hurry to make a decision on this.
So I think well, a couple things. I think Eric brought up a good point, and it's maybe something to consider. What if people stack these?
Height limit.
Well,
There's
height
a height
limit?
requirement, right?
There's a height
Relation to the
requirement
house?
in relation to the house, but is there something, and this is, John, something you might have to go back to West Metro on, because if we're stacking them,
It's double the square foot because it's 2 floors.
Yep.
Well, I mean, just thinking size limits to prevent
But-
people from wanting.
But is
measure
there
it that way.
ink,
What's that?
It's based on the footprint.
right, we gotta, and
Yeah, and I remember we just came up with a garage that it was really tall, that they're having living quarters above it, and not that it was wrong, but I'm like, well, that's part of the square footage, just not the footprint. But
and with that, we gotta figure out I'm assuming there's some sort of anchoring
Yep.
attachments on these that would have to be followed. But,
yeah, I think the square footage on accessory buildings needs to be thought about, how we determine it. Because people can go vertical. So it's part of the square footage, if you ask me. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do it, and maybe there's the right kind of a rule out there, IUP, CUP, to exceed it, but that would avoid the stacking them issue.
I mean, do we just have a subscript that says no stacking of shipping containers,
Yeah,
regardless?
shipping containers can't be stacked.
Yeah.
One thing I'm concerned about is that these shipping containers, we have some egg parcels out there that they have outdoor storage occurring on them. If there's no limit on these buildings, are they gonna shift to more of them? Because I don't think that's the intention of any of us up here, is to open up a little loophole where someone can basically rent out storage containers on their 30-acre parcel.
Sure, so they would need a permit for a home extended business. And that's how you would catch that.
Yeah.
so,
So my point being is with these storage containers, I personally think they should be for personal use, not like, you can't rent them out like you can outdoor storage.
well, so a couple things.
Maybe that's too far, but yeah.
Well, you're onto something there, though. If we consider shipping containers in our city as accessory buildings, and storage people in our city have to get the extended home use business, you cannot have an accessory building for someone else's extended home use business. Right?
You'd still need a permit for that. I mean, we do allow, a few months ago, I had discussed home extended businesses,
Yeah.
should they be homesteaded, and the answer was no. So theoretically, you can run out of a business on someone else's property and use the storage container.
And I guess my point is, I just don't want to see storage containers viewed as all of a sudden in placement of mini storage.
And, yeah, right, and that's kind of where I was going with that.
And so that's where I think on larger parcels, limiting them to what you were saying about, 1 every 10 acres, that solves the problem. So you can have 1 storage container on any parcel that fits the accessory structure, but if your parcel's over, but you can only have, if you want a second parcel, you need to have, or second storage container, you need to have at least whatever that threshold is of 1 per 5 acres or 1 per 10 acres.
Okay.
I guess the other question we can ask too is, a lot of this rules and regulations, ordinances do boil down to aesthetics, right? So we do have requirements for how it's colored, it has to match the house, whatever it might be. The question is, do we feel that a corrugated metal building sitting in a backyard is aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood? I mean, that's the bottom line question, and I think that's kind of what Eric was trying to get at, was the fact that there's other ways of skinning the cat, so to speak, to get a storage shed or storage outbuilding or an accessory building that would look a lot nicer in a lot of people's eyes than a corrugated metal box sitting in a backyard somewhere. I suppose that's all subjective too.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Eye of the beholder. I know, I think Peter just said earlier that he wouldn't want to look out his backyard and seeing one of these things in his neighbor's backyard, right?
Unless his neighbor turned it into a bar.
Right. No, exactly. No, and I would feel the same way. I mean, my lots aren't big enough, right? They're, if everybody had one of these in the backyard, it would look terrible. My neighbor put up a storage shed that's really close to my property line, but it looks exactly like the house. It looks nice. Did I like it there? Well, it looks different. It's odd. It's real close, but it meets all the setback requirements and HOA requirements, and I'm living with it because it's there. And I don't. Now, if that was a corrugated metal box, I'd have other issues with that for sure. So that's why when I said initially, I thought this is kind of more of the agricultural type of use of, I need something quick. I need a quick solution to some storage needs that I have right now. But if we feel that these things are okay on 1 acre or 2 acre properties because of the fact of the proximity, the distance that these things would have, and understanding that not everybody's going to have one of these things in their backyard, if we're okay with that, then I think that's what we have to consider. But as far as what Eric's concern is just don't allow them at all. If you're really in need of that kind of storage, then go do what you're supposed to do, or what the current code allows for.
I don't think these storage containers, I know, John, I saw your numbers, but a lot of people I know that put up sheds, it's about the similar cost. The storage container, you have to pay someone to deliver it to and drop it off. They add up. I mean, you're making a choice whether you're doing a stick building or putting a storage container in. And maybe you're saving some money, but I don't think it's significant.
I think where you're saving is the durability issues too.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That storage container is going to be there 50 years from now.
Yeah.
With no maintenance on it at all, other than maybe paint the outside.
Right.
If it gets chipped up like any other paint on your house.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are structurally sound. They're airtight. They're watertight. You can put things in there. You don't have to worry about rodents. I mean, they are far superior to any stick building that you're going to put together out there. You can't keep mice out of a stick building shed in your backyard. I don't care how well you build it. They will get in.
that clear for you, John?
Nope.
I think
I'm gonna
we
s-
did a circle and then came back.
Yep,
Went around a little bit, but there's things to consider.
So right now, and I guess I think what you're hitting on is under accessory building design requirements, number 3, these don't, it says this shall include accenting through the use of a porch or building trim, windows, door trim, dormer, wainscoting, other elements that are complementary to the principal structure. And by our code, these don't meet that requirement. So right now, the code, even if we add these in,
We need to change.
unless the house is built of shipping containers, doesn't meet the code.
I mean, I think the code was written to keep these shipping containers out.
I think what the code was written for is that you didn't have vastly different types of buildings on one property.
Yeah.
In other words, you didn't have your, white house and blue accessory structure, whatever. They wanted some cohesiveness. That's how a lot of codes are written. But, with the same roof pitch or, shingling color or, wainscoting or windows and all that stuff too, unless they're gonna make those improvements on the shipping containers, I think that portion of the ordinance also needs to change to allow these types of shipping containers.
Which
to go in.
is then gonna impact other types of.
And that's degrading, I think, what
Yes.
the code is trying to accomplish.
Yep.
It's good to have these discussions, because I think I'm back on the other side of that fence, is that we should just not allow them. Talking about going around that circle. I mean, you have to
If we
start
did allow
somewhere.
them, it sounds like without redoing the whole accessory building code, we probably can't treat them as an accessory building. Is that right?
Well, unless
Or get them a
you make
sub-part
them
for
meet
it.
the accessory building code. Unless you make them do something
But
on
we
the
have,
outside of that
sounds like we'd
building.
have to change a lot of the code because the code's so written in a way, like Peter just read, that everything needs to kind of match the home.
I mean, I think you could just have a subpart for shipping containers, and you just list out what you need to do to the shipping container in order to make it acceptable, which beyond painting it, I'm not sure
There's nothing
what
else
else
you
you
want.
do. Maybe
You're not
throw
punching
some
windows in
bushes
there,
around
'cause
it.
You might be.
Well, some people.
Some people
Do
would,
punch
but I don't think
windows?
you can
Or they
require
punch
it,
a
though.
simple utility door in because they don't love the heavy-duty doors and.
But I don't think we could require people to do that. I mean, because some people just don't, they want it for the security. And
Yeah.
so really, you say, whatever gravel base, so you don't have grass growing underneath it, and paint it, and I don't know.
John, have you looked at the code enough? Because I'm kind of still on the page of treat them as an accessory building, but I think we need to look at the code and identify all the issues that could create if we do that, if we haven't.
I'm going to say in detail, no. I know that, there are going to be contradictions, and so as Peter pointed out.
Right. So
We're not going to have it's not likely we're going to have windows and shutters on the storage containers.
Yeah.
So the way it would be written is there'd be, an exception of essentially, shipping container has to be painted a color similar to the house.
So what you're gonna get is, the perfect examples of the top picture here. That little storage shed is what is currently allowed and required, and the shipping container right now is not allowed, but that's what you're gonna get if we allow them to happen. And so, if you look at that top picture, you ask which would you rather have, looking out your backyard at your neighbor's property, and I think a lot of us would say, well, I like that small one, because it's, looks like a house, it looks like a mini house, it has the same design elements as a residential structure, and the other one looks like an industrial, semi-trailer with no wheels that is dropped off for temporary reasons.
I'm going to suggest that one of the commissioners make a motion, whether it's to approve a rendition of the ordinance or to table it.
if I were to table it, help me out, guys that are kind of maybe leaning my way. What would we want, if we're gonna table it, I want to have specific direction to John on, here's what we want to know, so next time we're done.
I think we need to table it because because if we are gonna move forward with any changes to the accessory building code to allow these, there's too many other things that
could conflict
that we haven't, that aren't addressed. So,
Well, the very minimum, we would have to do what Paul recommended, right?
Right.
We'd have to have an addendum to that code specifically dealing with this type of structure.
yeah, and the code is not written that way right now, so it would change a couple other areas.
So-
Because we do have a section for carports that's different in here.
Yeah. Section of shipping containers and.
Right, you'd have a section for shipping containers.
And so it'd be a section written for shipping containers that would,
What would be the want for us to allow shipping containers? I mean, is it just convenience? Is it, what's the impetus? Why are we saying we should allow them now? Is it because they're more prevalent, they're cheaper, they're more
I don't think they're cheap. I
indestructive?
view it as
They're
more of just a different option for people
just a
to
different
choose.
option?
And it's really, you know,
I'm not sure they're cheaper either up front.
yeah.
Right.
But if you ask me 10 years from now, with
Right.
Long run.
that building there sitting there versus the shipping container
yeah.
sitting in my backyard, that building is going to need maintenance and/or repair or replacement in 10 or 15 years, and
For
the
sure.
shipping container won't. So in the long run, you're way better off putting your money in the shipping container than you are in a stick building like that.
I mean, I guess part of our direction to John is, I mean, do we have support to allow them? I know I support allowing them. I do want to make sure we're not creating conflicts, but I support allowing them.
I think I do too. I mean, I think it's allowing people to kind of do with their property what they desire. If they prefer this for security or weather, whatever it is, they like the look of it. I think it's providing options, and I think we just got to be thoughtful on how we allow it. Then we have the ability to write some guidelines that, make it fit in and do it in a proper way. So whether it's paint it only single you can only do one layer, can't stack them.
And I've even seen some where people paint murals on them, and it actually looks pretty cool. So it's not always about just,
No.
and if no one's complaining about it, it usually looks good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, maybe there's different setback rules. If we're concerned about neighbors' views or something, maybe we go bigger setbacks or.
I think if you open that can of worms up in the city, that everybody that gets a shed put in their backyard by the neighbor is going to be, have issue with the setback rules as we currently have them. So I don't think it's going to make any difference whether it's a steel shipping container that's 10 by 10 or whether it's a stick-built building 10 by 10. Nobody wants that in their backyard. I understand that. But still, you own your yard. You should be able to do reasonable things in your yard. That doesn't mean your neighbor's going to like them. I mean, I've had neighbors build buildings, right on the property or right off the property line, with a proper setback, I'm assuming, because I didn't get a tape measure out there and measure it. I didn't like it there. I mean, I thought it was a butt ugly thing to stick in the back of a house, but I loved my neighbor. He was a great guy, and he wanted to build this building to put his, to store his lawnmower and his camper in and all these things, and so it got built. I mean, I lived with it. I didn't like it, but it's his yard. It's not my yard.
So we got 3 people that support them as accessory structures. I am in the boat of, as much as I want to move on from this, I am in the boat of tabling it from a standpoint. I want to make sure that we're identifying appropriately everything we need to in the accessory building structure with conflicts. So if we carve out an addendum like carports, we do it right.
Yep, and the fact that if we need to, as we're going through this, if we need to even add to the table of different setbacks for these, I'd be interested in discussing that as well, because I think these might want a different setback requirement.
I'm not sure. I think I'm more in Keith's boat, but we can save that discussion for when we get to it.
I'm just thinking of, these require a stick-built building, right, someone can haul 2x4s across their property to build. These require a substantial equipment.
People are gonna have issues getting them in their backyard.
Getting them in and out, and
Exactly, that's a good point. With a lot of the lots that we have, these little posted stamp lots that we've been allowing in the city, you can't get a 12 by 12 building
we're
in there
still
because
at
you don't have
least
that much room between the homes.
Precludes them from having it
They
then.
can't have that.
But-
They'd have to build a stick.
And we're still gonna be at least a 1.5 acre minimum or something like that, maybe one. So I think, yeah.
But I think it's also to think about, I mean, I pulled up a property that was 1.9 acres, and I showed it to Paul, and it's 1.9 acres, but it's 90% wetland. And there's a house on it, and it should be a 0.2 acre lot. Realistically.
We can say the requirement is net acres versus
Yeah,
gross too.
yeah, and so those are the things that I'm thinking about, you know, because at some point, someone may need to remove it if we're building, right? They may be able to access it today, but are they gonna be able to access it in the future to remove it? Just things I'm thinking about.
And the one thing that could open me up about your setback suggestion is that it is gonna be a maybe 1.5, maybe 2 acre minimum lot requirement. The setbacks become a less of a concern when you're on 2 acres. Like if you, I get why people wanna put it 5-10 feet from the border when you got, a third of an acre to begin
Yep.
with.
I've seen ordinances also that require specific setbacks from neighboring structures too.
Yep.
So not just from the property line, but it has to be 50 or 75 feet from the next or the neighboring structure, whatever that might be. So, I mean, I could see some of that language in there too. So I would be in favor of tabling this also. I'd like to see what staff, proposes back to us. Again, I think that the larger acreage allowed, the more inclined I am to allow or to support allowing these.
I'll make a motion to table it.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
Is there any discussion or any points of emphasis, John, you need from us at this point? before
Minimum
we
lot
vote?
size. I can just leave it blank, too.
Is there a minimum lot, there's a minimum lot
I
size
think-
for accessory structures, isn't there?
No.
Or is there no? You can just have one.
There's a
lot.
difference
Yeah.
between below 1 acre and
Yeah.
over.
And I think maybe that's where this falls.
1 acre.
If we already have this in our code of a 1 acre is allowed certain sizes and under 1 is allowed certain sizes. I think
say
we
one is
just
the
add it
starting
right
point.
there. We don't
Yeah.
create new columns and rows in our table. We just
Yep.
add it as part of the stuff that's.
Paperwork-wise.
So, yeah, so
Enforcement-wise.
you have to get, one is for qualifying for the shipping container.
Yeah.
And we don't want these in small residential.
Largely
neighborhoods.
because it'll be more difficult getting them in and out
Yeah.
of lots.
That
Yeah,
too.
the practicality of it. And that could even be a sub note underneath the shipping container section.
Yeah, right.
1 acre lot minimum.
That answer your question, John?
1 acre.
1 acre,
Okay.
minimum.
No.
I think
There's
because
a motion in a second?
There was a motion
There
in a
was a
second.
motion.
There was a
and
motion and a
We're
second.
discussing, we just want to make
we,
sure John.
we have a
knows
little
where
bit more
we wanna go.
discussion. I think the other thing, as we're looking at this code, and I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about our newer developments, I'm thinking about the carport section. Is there anything we want to address in this section, in this part of the code while we're looking at this? That's the only other thing that,
I think that'd be a good one, Peter, to send those suggestions to John.
yeah.
Yes.
Because,
Yep, again, this is one of the more complicated sections of the code. I think my impression is we put several Band-Aids on this. It's difficult to read. So if you'd like to rewrite the whole thing, I guess I would encourage it, but.
send me your
Try to
draft, is
simplify
what you're
it.
saying?
I'm just thinking, I was just panning through it and like, do we want carports? Do we want,
Sounds like a good project for your new planner when you get one.
When we get.
I can think of more important projects, to be honest.
Can we wait that long?
Yeah, so I think we should keep it to the storage containers for now, but I think it's not a bad idea what you're suggesting, Peter, at all. But we've already discussed the storage containers 2 meetings more than we needed to. So I think we need good direction from you, John. But now you take these ideas and let's get this to the finish line.
Okay.
Can we also look at neighboring cities just to
Yep.
see how they, I mean, like cities, right, that are kind of on the development side of things to see what they would allow for?
St. Michael might be an interesting one.
Corcoran, St.
Corcoran,
Michael,
St. Michael.
Otsego.
Just because St. Michael has a lot more single-family development.
Yep.
That have smaller lots, but yet they still have tons of rural.
Sure.
Where Corcoran's kind of all rural, but mostly.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to table this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next item.
I'm requesting to continue to table ordinance on parking.
I'll make a motion to table the motion on the parking.
Second.
I have a question. Why do we keep pushing that?
Time. You know, and I'm fine just taking this off too and republishing the public hearing notice for this. You know, a good point of that, this has been tabled for several months and I really don't remember what the original problem was that we're trying to solve.
I think part of it's going to be 9-foot wide stalls, and the other part of it is certain uses, our requirement is very dated compared to how times have changed. And so we're up here constantly discussing why an applicant wants less parking than our code, and it's because our code needs to be modified with how the trends have changed.
Another great project for your new city planner.
Yes.
I'm just gonna take a wild guess here. I think applicants want less parking than our code puts forth, so they can have more money to do other things.
Yeah.
Or save money on.
Think about the applicant that
on
came here tonight, though.
blacktop Parking lot.
When he's building a spec building, Keith, he's trying to also create a product that is viable, because someday he's gonna wanna sell it, so it's not just about at that point in time. No different than apartment developers, like,
And the most flexible.
they wanna make sure that their product can have enough on-site parking, so not only when they own it, but the next owner, because they gotta sell it, that's not an issue, but you're absolutely right, there are people that wanna go on the other end too to save money.
But we also don't want Walmart parking lots that are just oversized and just, we'd rather landscaping too. So
Yeah.
it's a balance. It's tough. Depends on the use and
And, you know, the thing with parking,
Location.
whatever we come up with, it'll probably, it's not gonna be perfect, but it's better than what we're dealing with now, because we're, like, what I don't like about it sometimes is we say the parking our code says 400 stalls, and then we're approved 250. That delta is just a lot for the public to absorb, like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
And so, if we're gonna have, you know,
Yeah.
ever make some difference in variances, I'd rather have the gap be much smaller than what it is now.
Yeah, I've got to do a little bit more research on this. So I believe New Brighton had done a study on their ordinance amendment, and, you know, so I could be wrong on this, but I believe they have a certain minimum. If you want to go less than that, you have to do a parking study where you're comparing similar uses, and not just one, but a few.
And those are so subjective, and you know
Well,
that whatever
so
the
is the
applicant
code.
presents to us is gonna support their case. So as much as as
Well-
much as I agree with what you're trying to say, we're gonna get stuck in a situation where the applicant's always presenting their side of the story that is to their benefit.
It's the city, though, that's conducting the study, not the applicant.
It's no different than we had the traffic study on the cubes. The city commissioned it with the cubes people, and of course they're gonna say that's not gonna be an issue. That's what consultants do with whoever hires them. But
Okay.
I think it's better to do a case by case and not, I mean, I hate to say it, but AI can write the parking code right now. Like, I use the AI for my parking calculations all the time now. It's like, you use Gemini, ChatGPT, you say how many square feet for retail, how many, it's right there. It's not, it doesn't have to be you'll be surprised how that's probably just as good as anything you gather from city research. Because it's already
you
pulling
don't
from
need
the
a
codes.
planner. You just got AI.
It's already pulling from all the city codes.
Heaven help us.
So we have a motion.
In a second, I think, don't we? I'll second it if we don't. Jeff
All
seconded
right.
it.
We have a motion and a second to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. All right. Notices and announcements.
Yeah, close on schedule. Okay. A lot of these are going to look familiar because you see them every month. So we have, the City of Dayton has an official city app, so please, I don't know if any of the commissioners have them on their phone. Oh, there's some head nods here. Okay, good. Wellhead Water Treatment Plant should be online soon, within the next few weeks in middle April. Dayton Play Place is every Tuesday at the Activity Center. The Dice and Dominoes the second, fourth Wednesday at the Activity Center. Drop-in for the embedded social workers available the third Wednesday of the month at the Dayton Police Department, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Shared Water and Shared Future. So this was provided this by Three Rivers Park District. In 1926, a survey was done of the Mississippi River for fish, and 3 were found. So this is a celebration of 100 years of restoration of the Mississippi River, and there's different speaker events that are happening this spring at the Mississippi Gateway Regional Park to celebrate, I'm not going to say refurbishment, but bringing back the ecology of the river. Easter egg hunt will be this Saturday, April 4th at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. So I have not looked at the weather of how fantastic it's going to be. Also, the city is encouraging people to shut their lights off and close their blinds to not distract birds and wildlife as they migrate through Minnesota. So this is a kind of an interesting web page that's being facilitated by Cornell University. The majority of birds that migrate do that between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., which is something I never thought about, flying through the sky without being able to see where you're going. But birds do this. So again, the intent is to limit light pollution and interference with those bird migrations. Spring Cleanup Day will be May 2nd at Central Park. It does require participants to be a Dayton resident. And if you'd like to trade gear, Hennepin County is offering a swap it event for, I believe this is for outdoor gear on May 2nd. In this case, it will be in Crystal. Mother's Day bouquet arrangements will be Saturday, May 9th at the Activity Center. We have our city open house, which will be May 13th. I believe that's a Wednesday at the Public Works facilities. So I'd encourage the commissioners to attend that if you have time. Citywide garage sale the weekend of June 3rd through 6th. Dayton Car Show, 6 events throughout the summer at Elsie Stevens Park. And then, speaking of parks, we have the opportunity again to adopt a park. So the expectation here is if for a family or an organization that, or individual that adopts a park, that you pick up litter once a month. We have sponsorships available for flower planters in the old town or the historic village. We have 8 planters available for adoption. It's $125 per season. And for anyone watching this, just please contact me. And if you'd like to donate more, we have sponsored dog treat station for $780 for a station, and I believe we have 6 of these. Might be halfway through. Election judges, we are looking for election judges for the August 11th primary, the November general election. It pays $16 to $20 an hour. Elevate Hennepin, again, is sponsoring several events for local entrepreneurs within Hennepin County, whether you're a Dayton resident or not. The EDA continues to market the EDA's property in the historic downtown. This is planned or intended to be a mixed-use development. The image at the top It includes a restaurant with commercial below and apartments above. Our broker that's marketing this has mentioned that they've had about 50 inquiries so far, but no offers. So I think whoever ends up developing this, it's going to be based more on word of mouth and who do you know. That's why I keep mentioning this in case you know somebody. Similarly, the EDA is marketing what we commonly refer to as a triangle property. So this is a tax forfeiture property off of Dayton Parkway and I-94. The EDA is soliciting offers. There's no minimum price tag with that. So generally, the EDA wants to consider what is a developer going or a buyer going to build there. Just the use is as important as the price.
They don't have an RFP out, do they?
For development?
Yeah.
No.
It's just listed for sale.
Correct, yes.
And I just saw the job creation up there, but it's zoned B3, which is retail commercial.
Yes.
Are there anticipations of anybody or feedback the EDA's been given about any other potential zoning?
The EDA is interested in whatever gets built there, it needs to be a job creator, whether it's industrial or commercial. Again, as you mentioned, Zone B3, which is general commercial. This goes back to what was the city's intent of the Dayton Parkway corridor, when the interchange was built in or even before that. It's evolved since the interchange has gone in. It's more industrial because that's what the market is.
Yeah. I'll just add that when we approved like the Turbine Pros building and everything, is the one site in the area with the best access for potentially commercial is this one. I'm not saying commercial is going to be a viable use anytime soon, I don't know, but this site has the best access.
Yep. Getting towards the end, so we had 14 home permits in the month of March. So this is kind of our handy histogram going back to 2007.
So at the council meeting, when they were discussing Dubay Lake, there was a 600 lot supply, if I caught it right, at the beginning of the year. And that includes developed lots as well as lots that are part of preliminary plats.
Yeah. I don't know those numbers offhand. I'd have to research it.
I just want to reiterate that there's absolutely no question that we're going to have to, if we don't want to see a lag in development, we're going to have to suck something in to current that's in 2030. I feel like council gave the impression like we have time, and I guess my point being is whatever we suck in, we need to do the study and that people are talking about water treatment, transportation plans. I saw Dayton Parkway take almost 2 years. So when I say, we do have time, but the more people just act like we have time, this is what leads to bad planning, bad development, and not being prepared. There's no question we're going to run out of lots before 2029 and 2030. And that was my whole point of that. We're going to have to suck something in unless we want a leg in development.
And kind of what, we didn't have a council update today, but March was a very busy month for us as far as projects go. So the Dubay concept plan was reviewed by the council. Again, with the concept plan, there's no approval or denial, but there's a consensus that it was questionable if there was support, or there probably is not support to amend the staging plan. And the reasoning for that had nothing to do with the Dubay. It's just that we're lagging behind in the ability of providing services, and the council wants to make sure that we're keeping up with the demand for public services and not overbuilding.
And part of it was the water treatment decision too.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess even on the planning commission, like when things come ahead in front of us, even in concept plan, but it'd just be good to understand like what is in the capital improvement plan as far as the intersections and all the things that need to be done for development. And if they're not known, that's just the whole point that, we need to have some certainty about them.
Well, and that's, and that's exactly why, several months ago, I asked John to kind of put these in here, these notice and announcements, is to prompt that stuff of what's going on that could impact us.
Yeah. Developers were ramping up. If the war in Iran didn't start, and which moved interest rates up, developers were anticipating this year to be crazy. Something happens with interest, and again, I don't want to develop super fast, but I don't also want to have a lag in development, because, and number one is all those fees that we're collecting and taxes, that's what's paying for all this stuff on our wish list that we're trying to identify that needs to get done, right? So if us taxpayers want to keep our taxes reasonable, we can't let development stop. We got to moderate it and be smart about it. And that's why we got to plan ahead. And that's why I say a year and a half supply. We're gonna want to be. And I don't know if the lead property is the right property, but whatever property gets sucked in, it's got to get sucked in the next year and a half to make sure everything keeps flowing. Otherwise, we're gonna be stuck, last second doing it, and we maybe have some bad planning as a result.
And my take on and listening to the council in that session too was not just the water issue, but it was the traffic issue, the roads issue. We can't just keep letting developers come in and stick houses after houses after houses and have no improvements to the infrastructure.
Right.
Someplace along the road, that has to happen.
Yep.
None of that has happened on any of the development on the south end of Dayton.
Right.
It hasn't happened down on Jeff's end of the town. It hasn't happened at my end of the town. And there's nothing on the plan to even approach the county to see if they will help us with this. They talked about the roundabouts, the two roundabouts, one at Rush Creek Parkway and 114th and maybe 117th. No one's approached the county on that at all. That's my understanding from what I heard at that meeting. There are no plans for the county to actually do that.
Sounds like it's no funding from the county.
Well, it doesn't make any difference,
Yeah,
whether it's
we
funding
have-
or planning. There's nothing being done there.
You
We
have to
can't keep building homes
Right.
and expect them to be able to go somewhere without creating a horrible mess, and it's
Right.
already bad now.
I know, but you have to keep adding the capacity before the county will do it.
Yeah.
It's a catch-22.
It is, completely.
What I would like to
It's
know, John, and I don't know if you
terrible,
guys,
but that's how
the
it
staff
is.
can do this, but we don't ever talk about numbers, and I'm a numbers guy, but and I get that sometimes they're estimates because you haven't completely engineered it out, but putting numbers, because I know you guys have them, like what the roundabout costs, I know Jason mentioned it, and understanding what's our shortfall in the CIP plan. 'Cause none of us know it.
Okay.
Well, it really depends on what you prioritize in the plan, I get that, but that's what it's like, and I'm talking about just a specific South Dayton, that area, if we're gonna actually open up more and do development is, what's the develop, here's the expectations of the developer, meaning he's gonna update 117th. And then what's the expectations of the cities with the roundabouts and how are they gonna be funded?
It's sounding like this is a good idea for a work session.
Yeah, it's way overdue. It's not going away. And then we need some numbers behind it, because otherwise people just throw out ideas and Paul might say, let's just do it, but then, Keith's over there saying, we don't have the money. It's like, well, that's why everyone just needs to be fully informed on everything and understand, because even the citizens of Dayton want to understand if we have to bond, why they're going to bond.
Mhm.
And, it's just, we need to see the numbers and make them public.
I don't have a slide on here. So the city is doing a Fernbrook study, and it's still in the works as far as what the cost would be, or estimated cost would be for 3 roundabouts, plus turn lanes and so on. Otherwise, just a generic cost for a roundabout is between $1.5 million and $2 million.
Yeah, and to me, you can work with rough numbers, because that's what I'm curious about, what do we have in our CIP plan? What do we even have?
Okay. So in the discussion, I guess, if you'd like, I can send you our CIP.
Because none of these projects are in it, right?
You mean for public as far as like the Fernbrook improvements and water and all? Oh, yes. I don't know exactly what year these are in. I mean, part of it is, you have a project, you have a cost to it, you throw it in a year, and you don't have any funding identified, so it gets pushed to the next year or 5 years down the line.
And I think that's what the public wants to hear, is what's the gap in the funding?
Mhm.
Because they want to understand how we solve it, and if to solve it is only go beg the state for money or the federal for money, it is what it is, or raise taxes. But, that's what the decisions need to be made, but right now, everyone's just saying roads and it's not enough, and now people are saying it's too expensive. I think we need to put some numbers behind it so people can decide for themselves, especially since it's an election year.
Yeah, it's clear to me that Hennepin County's just ignored this end of the county when it comes to
And
infrastructure.
unfortunately, it all starts back to our original 2040 plan. Because Hennepin County budgeted their funding on our plan, and at that time, the leaders chose to say we're only gonna grow at, what was it, 100 homes a year? Which is ridiculous, but, so, my point being is it's okay to be aggressive in the plan, because that's how you get everyone's attention when they do their funding, and then let the market take care of itself. You don't put a road in if you don't need it, but when you have a really super conservative plan, this is what happens. All right.
So
that's all
I
got.
will email you the capital improvement plan, well, we call it the long-term plan. So. Okay, otherwise, looking forward to, we're in April now, so May, we will have a continuation of the Sundance Greens 12th edition, so the developer needed some more time with that for the design for the maintenance shed. We will have a project, an assisted living project, take another stab at the ordinance amendment for shipping containers and potentially parking, but I guess parking's probably gonna get pushed off again in favor of shipping containers.
I think parking's more important myself.
Agreed.
Okay,
But
Do we, I
we'll
guess.
do what we can.
I think we just need to do the shipping container thing, get it done.
I hear you there too.
Yeah, let's just be done with it.
We've been kicking that ball around the room
Yeah.
way too long.
Yes.
Is it a new assistant living one, or is it the triangle
Yes.
lot?
Yeah, this is the same off of Balsam, so this
Yeah.
is the concept plan that was previously reviewed.
Yeah.
It's smaller.
That little pie-shaped piece?
Yes.
All right.
Should make the neighbors happy.
That it's
If
smaller.
it's smaller.
Hopefully it's shorter.
Maybe.
Less tall.
One story.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is, or meeting is adjourned at, what's the time?
9:16.
9:16.